Welcome back to episode 99 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. As always, I'm here with Troy. What's going on, Troy?
Not a whole lot. Just got back again from a Suns baseball game. We won. It was this quarterfinal district playoff game. So now we are on to the semifinals, which is for some reason next week. So go figure.
Got to give them rest and recovery time, huh?
Well, we got to need a break.
Postseason baseball. So, we're getting deep into summer at this point. As I mentioned, episode 99 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. It is a very special episode, of course, what we're calling our Gretzky episode. Yep. It's the only 99 we're ever going to have. So we can't screw this up, Troy. We got to be on our A game today for this one. We did get a good response from our last episode, which happened to be the first video recorded show that was uploaded to YouTube, as well as the regular audio podcasts that we distribute to whatever your favorite podcast app is. So as a reminder, in addition to listening to us on whether it be Apple, Spotify, you can now watch Troy and I make weird faces and we each say something stupid on YouTube. So
yeah, I think the best thing is me trying to look at the screen and see my eyes looking at the screen while I'm trying to look at the camera at the same time. I found myself doing that for some dumb reason.
We'll get better. And so today, like I said, big episode 99, our Gretzky episode. So we're going to go from one big episode to another, because our next one, of course, will be Gong Show 100, the 100th Gong Show, which seems inconceivable at this point that we'll have done this 100 times. Where has the time gone? But we have lots of cool stuff planned for Monday's show, which again, episode 100 of the Gong Show. So be sure to stay tuned for that. All right, Troy. Want to mention really quick our friend Second String. They are still going on with their Gear Wallet clearance event, where they put a huge selection of their wallets from NHL goalie equipment on what I would call like super sale at 55% off, as they make room for their new collection dropping soon. Remember, these wallets are essentially one-of-one, where they take pieces of goalie equipment and artfully sew them into these amazing wallets by some pretty awesome leather craftsmen.
Yeah.
I could have like 20 of these.
Yeah.
They're just, I just think they're so cool. This is what you ever have like run across companies like this where you're just mad at yourself that you didn't think of it?
Yeah.
This is definitely one of the cases of that. Now, what's super cool, as we mentioned our last show as well, in addition to these being 55% off, they've given us a promo code, GONGSHOW15. So GONGSHOW15. If you use that code, you will save an additional 15% off. So any of the wallets that are in their 55% off clearing event will be 70% off, which is total ridiculousness. Shouldn't be that cheap. But hey, we don't make the rules. So if you want to head to secondstringleather.com, pick out your favorite wallet with some NHL memorabilia in it, add it to your collection, you can save 70%. Send us pictures when you do, because we love to see the wallets that people pick out. Okay, lastly, before we get started, just a reminder, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means we rely on support from listeners like you to help us cover our expenses, produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey card hobby. Super easy to support us. You can still join our out of 99 support level tier. It's only $5 a month. With that, you also get exclusive access to the Hockey Cards Gong Show Discord server, where you can chat with us every day on there. We have a great community that we've built there. It's very easy to do. You can go, there should be a link in the show description, either on YouTube or one of the podcast apps you're listening to us on, or you could go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and click on the Become a Patron link that's at the top of the homepage. You go to the Patreon website, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show, or in our link tree, which is found in our TikTok and Instagram profile. The link is there. We do have one new patron since our last show, Eric Murray. Thank you so much, Eric, for supporting us. It means a lot. All right, Troy, you ready for the game plan for episode 99?
On today's episode, we begin by looking at the greatest player to wear number 99. Next, we take a look at our favorite Wayne Gretzky cards. Then we have a very special masterclass with Jeremy Lee, where we look at the Wayne Gretzky Rookie card, and Jeremy gives us a lesson on a host of topics around the Gretzky Rookie card. The amount of information that Jeremy gives our listeners and viewers on the Gretzky Rookie card is second to none, and everyone will learn a bunch of great information that they can use on the Gretzky Rookie card in their collecting journey. So please listen to that or watch it if you're watching the YouTube video. Next, it's off to Hobby News, followed by a look at the top 5 highest selling Wayne Gretzky cards ever. We then take a look at the Wayne Gretzky card market over the past 12 months. And we end the show by looking at our favorite hockey cards in the current PWCC Weekly Auction. Big show, tons of content, Josh, lots of Gretzky talk. So let's get to it. All right, Josh, we are on episode 99. No controversy with this one, all right? We know it. Hockey's greatest NHL player to wear number 99, per the Hockey Writers article, is obviously this man, Wayne Gretzky. If you're watching the YouTube video, it's my favorite picture I think I've ever seen of him. I love it, and I'm going to leave it up there while I talk about him.
Do it.
All right. Wayne Gretzky, a center from Brantford, Ontario. Gretzky originally started his playing career in the WHA, which at the time was a competitor to the older NHL. Gretzky originally started his WHA career with the Indianapolis Racers. However, Gretzky only played 8 games with the Racers before being moved to another WHA team, the Edmonton Oilers. The Racers were losing $40,000 per game, and they moved Gretzky to get additional funds. Gretzky was able to choose between the Edmonton Oilers or Winnipeg Jets, and on the advice of his agent, he selected the Oilers, which was pretty good advice. I hope he gave the agent some bonus money. The Oilers then joined the NHL for the 1979-80 season, which now began Gretzky's NHL playing career.
Think of like the butterfly effect. What if he had made the other choice and chosen
Went to Winnipeg? Yeah, it's crazy thinking about all that. Gretzky played in 1,487 regular season NHL games over a 20-season NHL career. Gretzky started his NHL career playing 9 seasons with the Edmonton Oilers. He then played 7 full seasons with the Los Angeles Kings before being traded in his 8th season with the Kings to the St. Louis Blues, where he played 18 regular season games. He ended his career with 3 seasons with the New York Rangers. I think.
Now, what do we call his stint with the Blues and Rangers?
Oh, I don't know. What do you call it?
The turtleneck era.
Oh, the turtleneck era. Yeah, I just kind of forget about those eras sometimes. I always forget about St. Louis. It's the one I always forget about. He didn't play. He just played 18 regular season games and 14 playoff games or something.
Something like
that. All right, Gretzky awards and accomplishments. I am not going to read everything because boy, we'd be here for about 5 hours. But I took a shot at some high level ones. Follow the same format we usually do, and we'll go from there. So Wayne Gretzky, Hall of Famer, number 99 is retired league wide. 4 times.
Is he the only player for that? Is he the only?
I thought Lemieux and Howe were also.
Okay.
But then I think they made a rule no more. There's going to be no more league-wide retired numbers. But I'm even misremembering that.
Okay.
4-time Stanley Cup winner. 9-time Hart Trophy winner. 5-time Lady Byng Trophy winner. 10-time Art Ross Trophy winner. 5-time Ted Lindsay Award winner, then known as the Lester Pearson Award. 2-time Conn Smythe Award winner. He was named on the NHL's 100 greatest players to play the game. He was an 8-time All-NHL first team selection, 7-time All-NHL second team selection. He was an All-Star game selection in each of his NHL seasons, playing in 18 of them.
So if the NHL ever did a list of not just the 100 greatest players to play, the one greatest player to play, I'm pretty sure he'd be on that list.
Yeah, I'm sure. There are, like I kind of said, there are so many other awards, accomplishments we could list, but we're just going to go with those for now, and we'll probably talk about some other ones going down in his little profile here. Gretzky made the playoffs in 16 of his 20 NHL seasons, compiling 122 goals, 260 assists for 382 points in 208 playoff games played. I don't know. That's pretty good, I think.
Okay.
Gretzky scored over 100 plus points in 15 of his 20 NHL seasons, scoring 200 plus points in 4 of those seasons. We will get to a lot more crazy Gretzky stats when we get into the fun facts section. So just hold on if you're ready for some more fun Gretzky facts. We got a bunch coming. Best season of his career from a points standpoint was his 85-86 season, where Gretzky scored 52 goals, 163 assists for 215 points in 80 games played with the Oilers. That works out to just a measly 2.69 points per game. So every game they played, they were basically up 2-0 because you knew Gretzky was going to get his 2 points per game.
Do you think this is the first record of Gretzky's that Bedard takes down?
Oh,
Probably this year.
Maybe. No, I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it.
Probably not.
I'm a Bedard Bobo, but I ain't that that big of a Bedard Bobo. Gretzky is widely considered to be the greatest hockey player ever. And I definitely will agree with that. The amount of records he holds is absolutely staggering. When Gretzky retired in 1999, he held or shared 61 NHL records. At the start of the 22-23 season, Gretzky still holds or shares 58 NHL records. If you look at unofficial records that the NHL doesn't recognize, he actually holds something like 100 or even in the 200s of records. But these are records. I mean, you can almost make up any records in some way or shape or form, and those aren't the officially recognized one. But right now, it's 58 official NHL records he holds or shares currently. Here's a great one. If you add Gretzky's NHL regular season and NHL playoff statistics, his stat line reads 1,016 goals, 2,223 assists for 3,239 points. That is just insane. I can't even like wrap my head around that. There's not much I can say that hasn't already been said about Gretzky. I'm not going to give you any major insights that people don't already know. He was unmatched in his hockey intelligence, stamina, and skill. He was always 2 to 3 steps ahead of everyone else. We always hear he was going to where the puck was going to be, not where it was. He had IQ and vision to know where his teammates would be rather than where they were. Simply put, he is the greatest. After his playing career, Gretzky purchased a share of the Arizona Coyotes to become a part owner. In 2005, he became the head coach of the Coyotes. After the Coyotes came out of bankruptcy in 2009, Gretzky was no longer associated with the team. Gretzky has also had various roles with Team Canada and also worked for the Oilers for 5 years as a partner and vice chairman. Currently, he is a studio analyst on TNT's NHL coverage. We've talked about him. We think he does a fantastic job. He's very laid back. I feel like he wants to go to bed when it gets past 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock on the show. He seems kind of sleepy at times, but he does have some terrific insight and great stories. So that's our quick overview of Gretzky before we get to fun facts. Josh, anything?
Just one thing on the TNT thing.
Yep.
Is what a stroke of genius for TNT to put Bissonnette right next to Gretzky on the panel. It's pretty awesome because Bissonnette will chirp with Wayne a tiny bit, obviously very respectfully, but it's pretty funny when Wayne kind of gives it back to him a little, as you know, Wayne's so nice that him making fun of you is like in the sweetest way possible.
Yeah.
But I think that that's honestly what makes that show is those two sitting next to each other.
I wonder if Gretzky's been on Spittin' Chicklets, because I feel that would go into a whole other angle.
He has. I think so.
Has he? And Bissonnette didn't go off on some crazy tangent and try to get canceled.
I don't think so. Or I don't even know if I listened to it. So
okay. All right. It's fun fact time. We got a bunch. It's our Gretzky episode, so let's have fun. Nicknamed the Great One. I think everyone knows that. But Josh, do you want to tell us the story on how he got that nickname?
I do, Troy.
Yes, I want to hear
So in the theme of Gretzky over the last couple of days, I've been soaking up interviews and shows about him. And while I was on a walk the other day, I was listening to a podcast where he was a guest on, I think, Dana Carvey and David Spade do a show, and they had Wayne on somewhere around the beginning of this June. And one of the stories he told, they asked him, well, how did he get the nickname the Great One? And he started talking about his very early hockey career. And I think he said maybe at like when he was 5 years old, he only scored 1 goal that season. But by the time he was 10, he scored 400 goals that season. And his coach nicknamed him the Great One then. And it's kind of stuck ever since. And he was pretty adamant that he does not like the name. And I think
Yeah.
if you get to know him a little bit, he's a super humble guy. But he said that, it kind of has stuck with him his whole life and he can't really shake it.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't need to shake it. It sticks with him. It's a good nickname. So that's how he got the name the Great One. Gretzky first wore the number 99 while playing for and I always mean to look this up.
It's Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah, Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds of the OMJHL. He originally wanted to wear number 9 for his hockey hero Gordie Howe, but it was already being worn by another player on the team. At the head coach's suggestion, Gretzky settled on number 99, and the rest is history.
Crazy.
All right, here come the real good fun facts. So, a friend of the show, Irish Flyers Collector, sent a great article that has some ridiculous Gretzky stats that I just had to use for fun facts. To give credit, the article was originally written by Matt Larkin of the Hockey News with a published date on January 26th of 2021. I think most of these that I read still apply today, but they are just insane. I think the article was actually titled like the 10 most hilarious or in crazy Gretzky stats or something like that. So here we go. Number 1, Gretzky won the scoring title by more than 70 points 6 times. Number 2, if Gretzky never scored a goal, he still would have recorded 11 straight 100-point seasons and won 4 scoring titles. If you chopped Gretzky's entire career numbers in half, he'd still be 17th all-time in points. Only 5 players have recorded 150 or more points in a season. Gretzky did it 9 times, or 45% of his seasons. Gretzky is the only player to record a 200-point season, and he did that 4 times. If you only counted Gretzky's seasons after turning 30 years old, he would still rank 4th all-time in points per game. And this last one is just bonkers. Gretzky could have ended his career with a 1,370 game pointless streak and still would have been a point per game player.
That's crazy.
It's just absolutely bonkers. So thank you, Neil, for sending me that article. I love those facts. Couple more fun facts I put on here just for my own humor is that his 1989 hosting appearance on Saturday Night Live, by far one of my favorite episodes. I had it on tape. I think I could bought the tape at the store. Like they had it for sale, but it's just it's a great SNL. Gretzky can't act, but it was so funny anyways.
He talked about that extensively on that podcast with Dana Carvey and David Spade. And one of the things that I thought really fascinating is he had turned Lauren down and his wife had called Lauren behind his back and signed him up to do it and said that you won't regret it. And to his credit, he says, I don't regret it.
Yeah.
But that's quite a thing to do for your wife behind your back to sign you up to host Saturday Night Live. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a great episode. Like he's on Wayne's World, obviously, and he's being Wayne Gretzky. There's a fishing skit with Phil Hartman. And then I remember the tiki bar or something. He was like a waiter or something. It's pretty crazy. All right, video games. I love video games. And we have a lot of Gretzky video games. Some of the big ones. I just wanted to say these because I like video games. We had Wayne Gretzky hockey. We had Wayne Gretzky and the NHLPA All-Stars. For some reason, I do not remember this game at all. I wonder if there was a reason, if it was
what a horrible name for a video game.
Oh, they didn't care back then. Yeah. Well, remember, NHL 93 was called NHLPA 93 because it just had the players. It didn't have the actually official teams. Another great game that I remember this all the time, playing this on Nintendo 64. Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey. We also had Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey 98. And then the last one I kind of remembered was Gretzky NHL 2005. There are other games. There's some more sequels to the ones I talked about or showed. But I just love Gretzky. He's on a ton of video games, all hockey video games. And that was my bread and butter when I was a kid, trying to find good hockey video games. All right. Gretzky's rookie card. So let's set the kind of scene here. We're going to go through a lot of Gretzky stuff and his rookie cards and graded stuff. So I just basically took a real quick look at his raw card if you wanted to go get a raw version of this card. And so I looked at both the 79 O-Pee-Chee number 18, and then we also have the 79 Topps. I have them both up on the screen. There's not much difference. One's a different color, a little darker. You'll know why when we get to the Jeremy League Masterclass. And I kind of just did a quick look, see what these cards go for in the market. And it varies widely depending on the picture that you see, the description. There's a ton of different factors on this card. We'll talk about it again in the Jeremy Lee segment where we talk about the Masterclass. The ones that I could find that sold seem to go anywhere, and this is raw, $500 to $1,800 was the highest I saw in my quick look of recent stuff. So it's still a pretty good chunk of change for a raw copy. But again, we will do a lot more on pricing of his rookie card as the show progresses and as we talk about as we go on to the Masterclass with Jeremy Lee. So that is the greatest player to wear number 99, Mr. Wayne Gretzky.
Good job, Troy. A lot of great information. We're going to transition to our favorite Gretzky cards. We just thought something fun to do, keeping on the theme of 99 here. The only caveat is we couldn't pick his rookie card because I think for most people that would probably be their favorite Gretzky card. And we also each picked one from his playing career, which spanned from 1979-80 through 1999, of course, and then one post-career, because that's really a big part of the hobby still are the Legends inserts that appear in a lot of the sets. And so we'll start with his player era cards, and I'll go first. And I kind of feel like I'm cheating with this one a little bit because it is technically a player era card, given it's a 1998 O-Pee-Chee Chrome Blast from the Past refractor that's a tribute to his rookie card, of course. But I just couldn't avoid it because it's maybe aside from his rookie, it's my favorite Gretzky card. It is his rookie card in design, of course. And then my other two favorite things are chrome cards and rainbow foil or chromium or whatever technology they used on him. And so it kind of checks all the boxes for me in that regard. It happens to be a very highly sought after card that can get pretty spendy as it's a pretty tough chase. Troy was part of a 10 card set in that 1998 O-Pee-Chee Chrome release that had a pack odds of 1 in 112 according to Beckett. So to pull one of the 10 cards. So pretty tough to get a Gretzky. The PSA 10 pop, like pictured here, is 30, in case you're wondering. And so pretty limited. I absolutely love to have one of these cards someday. Even a raw card would be fine. And if you're curious, the last PSA 10 to sell was in June from the PSA or PWCC vault that went for only Troy's $6,000.
That's
so
crazy.
They're definitely not getting any cheaper. That's a lot of money for technically a reprint.
Yes.
Too, right? Wouldn't it be that?
Well, again, the whole reprint thing is kind of crazy to me, but I've talked about this on the show, but I pulled the 52 Mantle reprint in 2021 Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversary. And I still have it. I just love the card, so I'm keeping it. But at one point, it was going for like 1,000 to 2,000. And I'm guessing it's now,
Crazy.
I don't know, 500, maybe 400 or less. I don't know. But yeah, the reprint market, that's crazy on this Gretzky card. All right. For his playing career, my favorite Gretzky card, put it up on the screen. I'm not cheating. This was actually my favorite, but we talked about it extensively on last show. But my favorite is the 1983-84 O-Pee-Chee number 29. It is by far my favorite Gretzky card ever. And the reason it's my favorite, I think it just brings back so much nostalgia and memories for me. I absolutely love this card. I remember flipping through my Oilers pages and my hockey card albums and always stopping at this card because I just love the picture on it. And again, I was a kid that watched hockey, loved hockey, knew who Gretzky was. He was my favorite player or skater, even though I loved goalies. Gretzky was so well known that he was like every kid's favorite player. And the picture on it to me is just so unique. He's hunched over. He's possibly in the face-off circle. It's just an image you didn't see a lot on cards. Plus, it was zoomed in. You can get a really nice picture of his face. to me, it was just a great card. It had that it factor, and I could just stare at this card and look at the picture. And I did that a lot as a kid. I love this card and would always flip to it. Again, this nostalgia, it brings me back to the 80s, sitting in my bedroom. It's sitting there with my hockey cards, going through them for the 500th time, reorganizing them. I did that all the time. But by far, this is my favorite Gretzky card from his playing days. So a PSA 10 pop on this card is 124. The gem rate is 5%. The card last sold in a PSA 10 condition July 9th on the PWCC platform for $1,830 US.
What's cool about that is that should be a realistic card for you to get someday.
I actually have it. I have it, but it's a raw copy. It is my card. I has a kid. It's bent, but I kind of it's still awesome. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to transition to our favorite Gretzky post-playing career. So those would be any cards starting in 2000 to the most recent sets. And my pick is by no means the most valuable post-playing career Gretzky, but I've always really loved the 2008 Fleer Ultra EX Jambalaya. First, it's an awesome image of Wayne on the card. He's repping his Oilers uniform. I think the next Jambalaya that came out was a Kings one. So if you're a Gretzky collector, you could kind of have a Oilers era Gretzky and then a Kings one. But this is definitely my favorite. I like that this Jambalaya is actually more squared than a lot of them. Some get almost like very oval or a circle to some extent.
A football, like almost like a football somehow.
And, you know, I've said this many times on our show before. If you've never seen a Jambalaya in person, I don't think you really get it. It doesn't do it justice. It's the kind of the three-dimensional, trippy sort of effect of the background that I really like. And, of course, in this card, it's got red and blue on the left side, red on the right side. I just love the look and feel and design of the card. There were 20 cards in the Jambalaya subset in 2008 Fleer Ultra. It was a really tough chase for these. I think to hit one of the 20 cards was 1 in 864 pack odds. So the odds of pulling a Gretzky toy were 1 in 17,280 packs. So
yikes.
Pretty tough. Last sale on a PSA 9 copy of this card was $1,741 on June 25th. US.
Awesome. I will say I absolutely love the blue and red in the background. It just makes I don't know what it does. It makes it pop. And this is a really nice clear picture if you're watching on YouTube, but yeah, that looks fantastic. All right. My favorite post-playing career Gretzky card. And I'm going to totally admit this is probably recency bias, maybe a little bit, but I still love this card so much. I went with the 2020-21 SP Signature Legends Edition Wayne Gretzky All-Time Future Watch Auto, number 450, numbered out of 49. Again, I've made my love affair with SP Signature Legends Edition, very well known on our show. I'm absolutely a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of the All-Time Future Watch Auto cards. You put those two things together and hey, it's got Gretzky, it's got an auto. It's one of my favorite sets. This is going to be obviously my pick for this favorite post-playing career Gretzky card. Looking at the card itself, I think it's really cool. It has a great picture of Gretzky on it. His signature is just one of those iconic ones. It's really nice. You can tell it says Wayne Gretzky, even though it's a little scribbly, but it's got 99 on it. And really, what else could you really want? He's in his classic Oilers uniform. And I just love, this is maybe me being a kind of a gear nerd, but I love the Titan wood stick. And I really love the tape job on it. If you see the tape job, it's just the heel. The blade is completely exposed. I just love that. It's just a great overall card. Recent sales of this card that I could find via eBay and paid for in Terapeak, I found a $4,000 US sale on April 21st of this year, and then a $3,818.68 US sale on March 20th of this year. And then I found this is kind of odd, or not odd, but a little different. Now, March 11th, 2023 sale via ebay.ca, and the price was $1,887.13 US. So someone got a good deal on that one, I'm guessing. I think we might have brought that one up on the show, I thought, or an
I think
Instagram
so.
post. I think we did talk about it because it was 50% less than the sale that occurred 9 days later, which we thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, that
I
is.
almost picked this one too.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah,
Well, it shows what we're just Bobos for SP
recency
signature.
bias.
Yeah, we just love it. And I'm still waiting for it to drop on EPAC, and I'll just sit there and spend all my money. It'll be like a slot machine.
Well, $4,000 is a lot of money to spend on an auto card out of 49.
Yeah.
But there's part of me that thinks 10 years from now that, probably north of 10 grand or something like that.
Well, there is, I mean, you could pull the out of 10 version. I believe Gretzky has the out of 10 too. It's gold, but I think they call it black on the checklist. I don't really understand unless they screwed up on the name, or else I just don't understand. But there is an out of 10 copy that you can get too.
Okay, we need to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor Slab Sharks. Of course, thank you to them for sponsoring our show. Remember, the current Slab Sharks weekly eBay auction ends tonight, so be sure to head to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction and get ready to bid against Troy, who always goes deep and will be there. Will be there for sure every Thursday night. If you do happen to miss out at the end of this week's auction, no worries. Once a Slab Sharks eBay auction ends, the next one begins. So there's always fantastic hockey cards to bid on. If you are a Canadian hockey cards collector and are ready to move some cards for cash, we'd recommend considering Slab Sharks eBay consignment services. They make it super easy to sell your cards in the popular and growing weekly auctions. Slab Sharks will do all the work, from taking the high-res photos, listing your cards, answering buyer questions, hunting down payment, and shipping to both Canada and the US. Right now, they're running a special, which you can see on the screen if you're on YouTube, consignment offer that ties them with Shark Week, which must be happening within the next week on the Discovery Channel. They're offering flat 10% payouts on all cards submitted. I think if it's under $50, there might be a $3 10.
No, it's got to be 90%, right? 90% payout.
90% payout. So yeah, 10% payouts.
10% fee or whatever that means.
Yeah, 10% fee, 90% payout.
Yeah.
Your cards must be submitted by July 18th and auction in their July 20 through 27th auction. If you want more information on the special offer, go to their Instagram. It's at SlabSharks Inc. INC for complete offer information, or go to their website, slabsharks.com, to get started consigning your cards. All right, Troy. With this being episode 99, of course, our Gretzky episode, we needed something really special. We knew that we were talking about this for a long time. And as I was thinking about Wayne and just how unmatched he was as a player, I also had the realization that his 1979 rookie card is also equally unmatched in the hockey hobby. And in my opinion, there's not another hockey card that's in the same universe as really the O-Pee-Chee or the Topps rookie. It's the most iconic card in the hobby and one of the most valuable of all sports cards in that exist. It's also almost a hobby within itself. There's so many intricacies, opportunities, pitfalls, and collecting Gretzky rookies that we thought it would be perfect subject for our next Hockey Cards Masterclass. And we recruited the one guy who knows more about this card than anyone else we know. And he did an amazing job taking us through the hobby's most important card. So we're going to roll right now our master class on Gretzky Rookie with special guest Jeremy Lee. We're thrilled to have back on the show Jeremy Lee for the next installment of Masterclass, where in the theme of our episode 99, where we're devoting really the whole episode now to Wayne Gretzky, what a perfect time to do a masterclass on the Gretzky Rookie. And I've seen this firsthand now for, I think, like 4 months as I've done the weekly PWCC auction show with Jeremy, how much knowledge this guy has about the Gretzky Rookie, where he will meticulously take myself and the viewers through the cards. And so honestly, Troy, I could think of no better person to lead this masterclass on the Gretzky Rookie, and very, very excited for this. So welcome, Jeremy, back to the show. We're thrilled to have you on and excited to get right into it.
Awesome to be back with you guys. Josh, Troy, always good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we're going to start with, I think more of like a big picture question about the Gretzky rookie and get right into really why the Gretzky rookie. Why is it the most iconic card in all of hockey cards and has really, I would consider, and maybe you'll disagree, Jeremy, but really by itself on the Mount Rushmore of all hockey cards.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, he is on the Mount Rushmore. If Mount Rushmore only had one head on it, I think that would be the Wayne Gretzky
There you go.
rookie card. It's he is most certainly the GOAT of hockey. And we're sharing this image right now on the screen where you can see career point leaders in the NHL. And I mean, just look at the top row. Wayne Gretzky, number one, total points 2,857. The next highest is Yager at 1,921. There's almost a 950 point gap between 1 and 2. And then as you go down the list, you can see that those gaps are a lot smaller. So Wayne Gretzky, there's really no argument against him being the all-time greatest player, not only from a skill perspective, but also just from a body of work, career, individual awards, Stanley Cup rings on his finger, most goals per season. He's got the most goals per season at 9. If you just go goals per season, and it'll be a bunch of Gretzky's and Lemieux, he's got the top 2 spots at 92 goals and 87 goals. Third is Mario, who had 85 goals one year. He had 4 seasons with over 200 points. There was a year not too long ago where no player had 100 points in the NHL. He has 4 seasons with over 200. Mario Lemieux had one. His best season was 199. And in a way, I'm a little disappointed he didn't get to 200. But on the other hand, it's kind of cool that only Wayne has 200-point seasons, and he had 4 of them. He's got the most 40-goal seasons with 12 of them in 20. He has most 50-goal seasons with 9, tied with Mike Bossy. 15 100-point or more seasons, 122 playoff goals, and 260 assists for 382 playoff points alone. That's staggering. Of course, 4 Stanley Cup rings. That's the career. And, countless Art Ross trophies, Hart trophies, all-star team awards. Like, the list goes on and on. How many records does the guy hold? Like 50 goals in 39 games. I believe he counts that as his most impressive record. So the man is clearly the GOAT. People who don't even collect hockey cards covet the Wayne Gretzky rookie. They really do. And sometimes, I get asked a lot, well, should I buy this one or that one? Should I buy Topps or O-Pee-Chee? Well, in the next topic here, we'll get into the Topps versus O-Pee-Chee. But the card itself, as far as why it's so iconic, I mean, the blue borders are something that you just recognize right away. The way he's leaning on the card, I say it's an iconic looking card, but do I say that because I think it looks iconic, or did he and the card make it iconic? I don't know. I don't really care. I just know that it is an iconic card, and it's something that, as you said, Josh, I love looking at. I love being meticulous when I examine these cards. And just for completeness, other players who are in the GOAT discussion, you've got Gordie Howe, Bob Orr, and Mario Lemieux. I believe those are the 3 guys who would compete for that in that discussion. And modern player-wise, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid would also be, in the discussion, but not yet for Connor McDavid. And Crosby, I think some people think, he's less skilled, but he has a great career. So I just think the card is amazing, and the whole hobby recognizes its greatness.
Yeah, what I would say about Wayne is he truly is transcendent. And what I mean by the word transcendent is he has awareness, and people think highly of him that are outside of the sport of hockey. And not too many players have ever achieved that level. And I would argue even Connor McDavid doesn't have that. We're here in the United States. I don't know what percentage of people, if shown a photo of McDavid, would know who he is, but a lot of people know about Wayne. And the other thing I was thinking about as we were really putting together this whole episode is, okay, listen, it's a young person's world. And, but one of the advantages that I think the 3 of us have that we've been around a little bit is we all got to see Wayne Gretzky play. And so many hockey card collectors and hockey fans who probably idolize a guy like Connor McDavid never had the benefit of seeing Wayne play. And so, if I could kind of put you on the spot, what I would love to get your perspective on for a minute, Jeremy, is if you have a 20-year-old that comes up to you that loves hockey, that doesn't have a frame of reference of ever seeing Wayne Gretzky's play, how would you describe Gretzky to that person in the context of like a Connor McDavid?
Well, I mean, Wayne could take the puck from behind his goalie's net and just weave his way through all the other players on the ice and take it to the goal and score almost at will. You know, Connor McDavid is excellent too. Connor McDavid might be a more skilled hockey player than Wayne Gretzky was, and that might partially be because of where training technology is at and dedication to the game nowadays. I don't think it takes anything away from Wayne. I think Wayne was better than the rest of the players that he played with and against than Connor McDavid is compared to the players he plays with and against. I think Wayne was that far ahead of his of everyone in the league at the time. But what I would say, and this doesn't have as much to do with Connor McDavid, I would say that Wayne Gretzky was the ultimate chess player on the ice. He is known to be able to see the game 3 moves ahead. He didn't put the puck where you were. He put the puck where you were going to be. On the screen right now, 1,963 career assists. I'm not sure how many of those were first assists, but I'm going to guess easily the majority, right? Troy's not easily the majority. So he knew where you were going to be, 3 seconds later, and he would put the puck there. And he's just known for his hockey vision and his hockey sense, unlike I think anybody else as ever has been. What was interesting, and just to, Pat LaFontaine was recently quoted saying Jack Hughes is the US's Wayne Gretzky. He has that vision, and I like hearing that. So I like to watch Jack Hughes now and see how far ahead of the play is his mind and what he's doing.
Yeah, I really agree with you where I don't think it's fair to compare players from different eras. You have to compare how they dominated their era. If you're going to try to do any sort of apples to apples comparison. All right, Troy, we're about to dig into the card. Do you have any just overall feelings on Gretzky or remembrances or things you want to add to this part of the conversation?
So I got 2 things. So Jeremy pointing out the assist, and I know a lot of people know this, but I just love if you took away all the goals, he still has more points than anyone in NHL history. I think that's always a fun stat. And then me growing up as a kid in Minnesota, we knew who Gretzky was. I loved Wayne Gretzky so much that I don't know if I should say the story, but I think it was the playoffs in '84. North Stars played the Oilers. I had the chicken pox. And I don't think I was infectious, but I had the chickenpox virus and everything. And I begged and begged and begged. And my parents finally broke down, and we got to go to a Oilers versus North Stars game so I could watch Gretzky in the playoffs. So I'll always remember that. And I always remember too, I'm pretty sure I was at a game where Gretzky threw his gloves down and was ready to go after someone, but I don't think he actually fought and got a major. But I always remember that memory just fried into my brain about him ready to drop the gloves and fight someone. But yeah, Gretzky, growing up a kid, Minnesota, we knew who Gretzky was. He was the greatest. Loved having all his cards.
He's known for being in one fight, I think, in his career. I forget who it was against, but this is really cool. What Troy said about, you take away the goals, he's got more points than anybody. Back in the 80s, when I used to do hockey pools, fantasy hockey in the 80s, before there was any technology to help you along, we used to, and this was common, you couldn't pick Wayne Gretzky. You weren't allowed to. But what you could do is you could pick Wayne Gretzky's goals, and then someone else could get his assists.
Oh, funny.
That's the way it worked.
I love it.
That's the way it worked in the 80s in fantasy hockey when it came to Wayne Gretzky. Because if you got the first pick overall, you won the pool.
Yeah. All right, we're going to dig right into it. And I think the best place to probably start, Jeremy, is one of the first things that you're confronted with as you get into the hobby and you start to learn about the Wayne Gretzky rookie. It's like, wait a minute, there's 2 of them? they kind of look the same, but yet they're different. And of course, we're talking about the O-Pee-Chee version of the 1979 Wayne Gretzky rookie and the Topps version. And would just love for you to take us through the key differences.
All right, let's do that. So up on the screen right now, we do have a copy of each side by side, so we can right away start to look at the subtle differences, because you'll notice if you're watching that the card looks the exact same. But you're also noticing on the screen right now that the O-Pee-Chee version, it's a little bit lighter. The blue border a little bit lighter. After that, you really need to look closely. So let's talk about the fronts, which we're looking at. We'll look at the backs after, but on the fronts, the edges, it's really easy to tell the difference if you just look at the edges of the card. The O-Pee-Chee card is very often rough cut on the edges. Not all rough cuts are the same. Some are a lot better. Some are extremely rough. Whereas the Topps card, the edges are almost always perfect. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here and just kind of show the difference up close. So right there, if you look at the two edges side by side, you can see over here, nice and clean, like any Topps baseball, football, basketball card of the 80s and 70s. Now look at the O-Pee-Chee. It's a little bit rougher. This is actually a very clean, rough cut. I have a couple other examples. We'll look at them after that have a rougher cut, but that's the first thing to kind of look at when you are doing a comparison. And even if you're just trying to identify, not the number one way to identify, but certainly a way to identify. The next thing you'll look at is the yellow dot on the shoulder on the O-Pee-Chee. So let's zoom in to the O-Pee-Chee card, and you'll see this yellow dot right here. It's on what is his left shoulder, the right shoulder we look at on the card. This yellow dot is present on every single copy of the O-Pee-Chee rookie. It's not present on the Topps copy. You'll notice there is no yellow dot here as I zoom in on that section of our scan. That is the number one most sort of well-known way to tell the difference if you don't know these other subtle differences. Another thing that I want to point out, and I'm going to actually go to a different copy of the card. Let me see, is it this? Okay, so here we have another copy of the O-Pee-Chee, and as I zoom in, you'll notice these very faint, this change in tone of blue. Right there, it's a bit darker, it goes lighter, then here it's a darker stripe almost coming down the card. This is not present on all the cards, all O-Pee-Chees, but it's only on O-Pee-Chees. I've never noticed that on a Topps copy. And you can see here, you don't see any of it. It's uniformly blue throughout on the front. So those are the key details to tell the difference between the Topps and O-Pee-Chee on the front of the card. The other is just noticing overall how much darker, more vibrant the color is on the Topps. That's a common difference. It's not like this O-Pee-Chee card is not as vibrant. Most, if not all, O-Pee-Chee copies are going to be less vibrant in color than the Topps. And look at the crowd in the background. So much darker on the Topps than the O-Pee-Chee. So those are the ways to look at the differences between the two on the front of the card. I guess finally I'll mention that the oil drop, which is in the logo on the bottom right of the card, it's almost always very well placed on the Topps copy, whereas on the O-Pee-Chee copy, you'll see this one is slight to the right within this, I call this blue thing, the pocket, and the drop is a little bit off center. It's often off center or just not perfectly aligned on the O-Pee-Chee, whereas with the Topps, it's almost always, the ones I've seen, perfectly placed.
One of the things I always
Next,
marvel
we'll look
about
at the back of the
looking at-
cards for some differences, and it's.
Oh, sorry, Jeremy. One of the things I always marvel about this card in general is how intricate it is. And for a card at the time that relied on stacking RGB printing plates on top of each other with all the lines and pockets and channels that are within it, it just amazes me that to me, it's got to be the most intricately designed hockey card probably ever created.
Yeah, and you know what you might be talking about is, as we've gone through these during our Sunday night show, that there's often like little subtle issues where you'll see some white space between these black borders and the blue, and it's a very detailed card. I think, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Let's go to the backs now. You guys ready? Okay. So here's I've now switched to the back of the cards on the screen. This is the O-Pee-Chee on the left and the Topps on the right. And right away, you notice that they are vastly different in the shade and the vibrancy of the cardstock. They are different cardstock. The O-Pee-Chee is a much brighter, almost yellowish tint cardstock, whereas the Topps is very gray. It's more subdued, not as vibrant. And so that's an automatic way to tell the difference between a Topps and O-Pee-Chee, and just to know the difference between the two. Another key difference is the Topps doesn't have any French on it, where the O-Pee-Chee does have French on the card. So that's an obvious thing to consider, simply because the O-Pee-Chee was distributed in Canada, which has French as an official language. And then the last thing I want to point out here, and this will come up also later when we're talking about looking at counterfeits, is in some cases of the O-Pee-Chee, you will have these thin blue lines going through the back of the card. And I'll zoom in a moment for those that are watching, but these thin blue lines only exist on the O-Pee-Chee, but not all of them. There's a sort of one of these old wives' tales, or a legend would have it that if the card has these thin blue lines, that it means that it's a first print. I don't believe that to be the case, but that's okay. We've had extensive conversations about that. I think I just say blue lines are present, and if you want to add value to that or premium because you think it was a first print, I'll sell it to you for more money. If that's what you think, that's fine. But here they are. You can see them at the top of the card right here. But as we move our way down to the bottom, most people look for them right here. And this is a very aggressive version of these blue lines. Oftentimes they're subtler. So you really want to look carefully to see if your copy has them. Now, I do think that this is like a printing defect. I think there was something in the printing press after they were worn down, not right away. And that's what happened, because it does go from the bottom of the card all the way to the top of the card here, but not through this part of the skate on the back. And maybe that's because it's blue, so you wouldn't see it anyway. It's the same color as the lines. So those are really the main differences between the Topps and the O-Pee-Chee card. It's also interesting to know just that, again, Topps distributed in the US, O-Pee-Chee in Canada. I think that's about it for the difference between Topps and O-Pee-Chee.
That's awesome. And was O-Pee-Chee produced in Canada and then Topps produced in the USA too, or do you know if they were printed and produced in one location and then distributed to the two different countries?
Yeah, I believe that O-Pee-Chee was produced in London, Ontario, which is a small city in Canada, in Ontario, and Topps would have been probably where Topps is, in New York, I believe. So yeah, and like the card stock really almost proves that. Otherwise, why wouldn't they have just done them all at once? Here's the Canada allocation, here's the US allocation. Let's go from there. So I do believe that to be the case, Josh.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to, I think probably for me, when I get to the point where I buy a Gretzky Rookie, and I definitely plan to at some point in the near future, the scary part is going to be a fake card, or making sure it's authentic or altered, right? Because these cards get very expensive, as we know, and I know that you have a lot of knowledge about how to spot or tell, or what are common characteristics of making sure your card is authentic or has not been altered. And so would excited to kind of go through that now.
Yeah, I mean, when you are looking at a Gretzky Rookie, you need, especially if it's an ungraded copy, you need to first determine, is this thing real or is it counterfeit? The Gretzky Rookie is one of the most counterfeited cards in the whole hobby. Probably that and the Michael Jordan Rookie, as far as I know, likely the two most counterfeited cards in the whole hobby. and it's a hockey card. So you need to know. I want to mention when we're talking about counterfeits that there are some licensed reproductions that have been put out by O-Pee-Chee, Topps, Upper Deck over the years they're on the up and up, and they're no problem, but they're pulled from packs. One's called the Blast from the Past as an example. So be aware of that. But when you're looking at authenticity, I'm going to switch it up now, pull up another image. So this here, fellas, we're now looking at a scan of 4 different Gretzky rookies. And these are from my personal collection of counterfeits that I've accumulated over the years. I've only found 4 different ones. I found a 5th one once, but the guy wouldn't let me have it. So I only have 4. I take these to shows with me to show people what to look for. You'll notice that I keep them in top loaders, and I even have a little sticker that says F on them for fake, so that no one will ever be confused that these are not fake counterfeit Gretzky's. But as you guys even look at them yourselves, you might think to yourself, well, those look pretty good. And they do.
I would have no idea.
They do look good. So here's things to look for when you're assessing the authenticity of a Gretzky rookie. First of all, look at the back of the card and search it for anywhere that it might have the word reprint, because some of the fakes actually were found and then someone stamped reprint. And as we go just to the next slide here, you can see right up here in this one, look right there. Someone stamped reprint, and thankfully they did. So one of mine does have the reprint stamp on it, and I think that's a good thing. Fake aging. Fake aging is something that counterfeiters do. As we look at the front of these cards, this one down on the bottom right, it looks to be, really worn out, doesn't it? Like, look at this thing. It's got some creasing here. But more obviously, if we look at the back of these, this one on the top left, look at what they did to this thing. Look how much effort they put into trying to make this look like it was old and worn out. Like they dunked this in beer, it looks like, or something.
It's even got like a white spot and everything. They did a good job on making it look old, I guess.
Yeah. So you really want to look at the backs. Whereas this one down here is it's too beautiful. It's too perfect. The color, you can't even see any fibers in the cardboard stock. This one over here, the bottom right, it's a really good copy as far as a fake goes. That back looks pretty good to me. And then this one, if it didn't have the reprint stamp on it, would also could be convincing as well. Other things you want to look at on this are the edges. Again, I mentioned that, O-Pee-Chee edges are often rough cut. So look at the edges and see how sharp or not sharp they are. And even this one here, the top edge looks a little bit like they tried to make it look like it has a bit of a rough cut. But the side edges look pretty good. Look at actually this one right here. They have some damage on the right there that they put there on purpose. You can see even on the bottom. But when you're looking at a Gretzky rookie, you want to turn it on its edge and look at the inside of the card. Look at the color of the cardstock between the top layer of the ink and the back of the card, and see, is it white or does it look like the card should look like? So important to just inspect for perfect edges. And is the cardstock white? Sometimes it's white like a piece of printer paper nowadays. For sure. And I don't have an image of that because it's too hard to capture an image of the edge of a card, for me at least. But that's something else to consider. You also want to look at the print job itself, the way that the ink was laid down. And you'll notice if we look at a real Gretzky rookie, let's look at this one right here. As you zoom right in and look at the black, and this is a digital image, so it's harder to see, but look at the black. It's solid. The black lines around, above the word Edmonton and below the Edmonton Oilers and below it, very, very solid. If we go back to the counterfeits now and you zoom in, just look at that. You can see it's not as black throughout. It's actually like a dot. Look at this one. Here's a great example. Look how weak the black is in that card. As we come down to 2 of the other ones, again, look at that. It's got breaks in it. And then the 4th one, again, it's hard to see because this again, but I'm zooming in so far, but it doesn't have a sharp black line. It's kind of bumpy and stuff. So that's another way to identify a fake counterfeit Gretzky rookie. The texture of the cardboard itself, you want to, the best advice you can give anybody who's maybe going to purchase a raw Gretzky rookie is have a common 1979 O-Pee-Chee or Topps card with you and know what it feels like. You can feel a Gretzky rookie, feel it, touch the front and back. Does it feel right? That's another thing. Also, of course, you'll notice on these ones, there's a yellow dot on this one. So someone took that extra step to get the yellow dot on this copy, but the other ones, I don't think have it. No, all three other ones don't have it. Now, if we go to the backs, do they have French? They all have French. So if there is French on the back, but there is no yellow dot on the shoulder on the front, you are certain to have a counterfeit card. Another thing is just the size of the card. You know, always, again, have that exemplar with you. Have a 79 O-Pee-Chee common card and size it up. Simply size it up. That'll help you understand if the card has been trimmed. But also understand not every card came out of the printer, out of O-Pee-Chee or Topps, the exact same size. There are small variations. So, but if it's obvious, it's going to be obvious. So know enough, or have an exemplar on hand for that. I think that's really the most important thing. As far as alteration, you want to look for recoloring. You know, if with these blue borders, it's quite common for there to be, you know, a chip out of one of the corners. Or here, let's look at this. This is a VG to X card in a PSA holder. So if we look at this corner up over here, you can see it's got some issues. Someone could have taken a blue marker and tried to color that in with the same shade of blue or the same tone of blue. And that's, you know, it's going to be difficult to do, but look and make sure that you can't identify any kind of foreign color or the not perfect blue where someone tried to color it in. Of course, trimming you want with an O-Pee-Chee. I almost feel more comfortable when the card has the rough edge because you know it's not trimmed. Like, look at this one here. Pretty rough right here. Almost very rough right there. But I like that because you just know that this card is legitimate. It has not been trimmed. There's also restoration, you know, people adding paper back to the card. To be honest, I don't know how to spot that. I think you need like a black light or something like that. The grading companies can spot that. So you might want to rely on them for that. In my estimation, fellas, those are the things that I look for when I'm assessing whether or not a card is counterfeit. I'm going to show you one more though. One more card. And this is a copy that right here. So have a look at this one. This is an O-Pee-Chee card. The edges, something looks funny about them. Top edge, the left edge, the right edge. It's so almost uniformly. You see this very light, almost white border around it. Now, this card is an authentic O-Pee-Chee card. And I sent it away for grade. I sent it to PSA for grading. They would not put it in a slab for me, but they sent it back to me in this holder here that says evidence of trimming. And I kind of knew when I acquired this card that it looked off. Like I knew that something was wrong. I wasn't certain it was trimmed, but I just never saw this effect. So I knew something was wrong with it. But I also felt strongly that it was real because when you just look at all the telltale signs, I mean, everything is there right down to the registration, the print pattern, the yellow dot is exactly where it should be and then the right shape. Like everything about this card is authentic. So anyway, it came back when I submitted it as evidence of trimming. I was not disappointed because I expected that. So This is a great example for people out there to come back to this video and look at this copy to see what a trimmed Gretzky might look like. Now, I will say, I don't think this is a fantastic trim job. I think that the trimmer, unfortunately, could have done a much better job to conceal this evidence of trimming. But in any case, I wanted to share it because it's still an authentic Gretzky card and it has been trimmed.
I would think too, just in general, especially if you're considering a raw Gretzky, and if it's in looks to be in reasonably good condition, they go for quite a bit of money. That it might not hurt to get a second opinion from someone that you trust, whether it's a local card shop that you've developed a trusted relationship, or someone that you know might have more knowledge than you. Because when you were showing these, Jeremy, I think of myself 8 months ago, I probably would have bought all of them
Yeah.
and not
You,
known the difference. And once you hand that money over and take that card, you're probably not going to have a lot of recourse. And so I think just a word to the wise that you're right, this is one of the most faked cards there is in all of sports cards. And I would think that I would want to be more convinced that it's more proven guilty, or guilty until proven innocent, right? That I'm going to assume it's fake until someone can assure me that it's not. And if the seller of the card is not about you getting that second opinion, or is trying to hurry the deal, and any sort of red flag, there are a lot of these cards, so that's one good thing about them. And I think that at any sort of hint of something doesn't feel right, to walk away or get that second opinion, I would think would be a smart move.
yeah, definitely go into any ungraded Gretzky with some degree of skepticism. Don't just assume they're fake, because there are so many of these out there, and there are still so many waiting to be found by the active hobby. But definitely you make a great point, Josh. The second opinion, when I'm set up at the Toronto Expo, and I have been for 18 years now, twice a year, I get, and up to 10 or 12 people over the course of a weekend that will bring me a copy, say, what do you think? Is it real? Is what do you think of the condition? What would it grade? And people even bring me graded copies and say, what do you think of this one? Do you agree with the grade? Do you think it's real? And I'm happy to share that knowledge and give my opinion on them. I do it all the time with Gretzky rookies, and I love doing it. I want to help. I want to save somebody from making a bad purchase. I want to save somebody from buying an overgraded card, or I want to save somebody for paying way too much. So, and I want to save a seller from selling for way too little. If they just picked up a card and they got it for a good deal, it doesn't even matter what they paid for, but they say to me, hey, I have an offer for this card for $500. I could look at it and say, listen, I think if you were to have this graded, it could be worth 5,000. So I don't know if I'd let it go for 500. I might be wrong, but always get that second opinion. So important. And there's lots of people willing to help.
Well, I think that's a good segue into our next topic, condition. And to me, that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, I think, from you about the Gretzky rookie, is that not only is it really important to have a good eye to assess the condition of a particular card you're looking at raw, but in the graded copies, because so many of these have been graded, and whether it's through PSA or BGS, right, it's roughly a 10-point scale. We'll use the example of a PSA 8. There can be a huge spectrum of condition within that one grade. And so you really have to know what to look for. And it'd be awesome for you to take us through that now.
Yeah, well, okay. So I'm going to, on the screen right now, we have a PSA 4 VGX O-Pee-Chee copy. We saw it a few minutes ago, but here it is when we're looking at condition. And I'll just say right out of the gate that this is an extremely strong 4. It's beautifully centered. The corners are all quite uniform. It's got almost perfect registration. And I just say that for the people watching. But now let me tell you a couple things about assessing the condition. And a lot of these things you can use across all cards, not just Gretzky rookies, but some of them are specific to the Gretzky rookies. It's important at this point of this master class to let everybody know, if you don't, that there were condition issues of these cards right out of the pack. These cards, if like you would be lucky. You could open up cases and cases of 79 O-Pee-Chee right now, and you probably won't find a single card that would grade 8 or higher. You're probably going to get a few 7s, but you'll be very lucky to get an 8. You'll hit the lottery if you get a 9 from a PSA perspective, and if you hit a 10, consider yourself getting struck by lightning 3 times in different countries over the course of a 2-week worldwide trip. So very tough to get a good copy out of the pack. And a lot of it had to do with centering. They didn't care so much about centering back in 1979 when they were printing and cutting these cards. Interesting bit of trivia. The O-Pee-Chee product hit stores in Canada on January 1st, 1980. That was traditionally the date that O-Pee-Chee came out. 79-80 set came out Jan 1, 1980, and so forth from there. So the other issue out of the pack is registration, which simply means, is the picture on the card in focus? Did the 4 printing plates, did they get laid down uniform in exact alignment? If even one of those plates was slightly off from the other ones, you'd have a degree of blur or other issues that we see. The copy we're looking at right now, and I'm just gonna, let me just skip ahead here to one that does have these are actually my copies, so I don't have I'm such a registration snob that I don't really have one that doesn't have good registration. So what I'll do instead is just kind of zoom in and show you where you can find poor registration. The first place I look at for registration is the oil drop. Is it in the middle of the pocket? This one is a little bit high, but it's perfectly centered. So that's a great thing. The oil drop should be right in the middle of the pocket. Another place that I look is the word Edmonton and Oilers. The word Edmonton is in black ink. The word Oilers is magenta and yellow. Those 2 plates combined to give you the orange here. Now, oftentimes the word Oilers will be slightly below the word Edmonton, slightly below. I say it's on a different plane. If they are on the same plane, you've got really good registration. Another place to look is his face. Just how clear and focused is his face? And finally, the last place I like to look are his legs. Oftentimes you will see a little bit of a shadow coming underneath where my mouse is going, both of his legs by these shin guards. You'll see a shadow coming off them. It's often a little bit of yellow or a little bit of like that magenta sort of thing. Let's just see if either of these cards have it. You can sort of see it on this one. See? It's like you've got this magenta shadow coming off to the right. And you also can tell that the oil drop is a little bit to the right. So look for those things, everybody. Look for those things. Now, they're not deal killers. They don't kill a card. But if you are a registration snob like I am, and I've made Josh into a bit of one, you might want to notice these things. I said that was last. I have one more thing I want to show you when it comes to registration, and it's going to be hard to identify because these are so good, but I'm zooming right in on the bottom of the Oilers logo. And can you guys see this very thin white line between the blue and the black?
Yep.
This is, again, like there should be no gap there. The black should have come right up against the blue. In this case, it's very slight, especially when we zoom out. But on some copies, if your listeners and viewers will look closely and just go search images of Gretzky Rookies, you will find that, there is a good 0.5 millimeter of space, and that could be wide when you're looking, right? You'll see it'll be obvious that there's white over here in between these 2 lines. Then you'll also see it sort of between the blue here and the black here. You might see some funkiness over here and on this side as well. So those are the things that I look for every time I inspect a Gretzky rookie, as far as, again, like the surface and the focus, the registration of the card. That's what I look for. Other surface issues, again, this will apply to all sports cards, especially vintage, are fish eyes. You might want to see, are there any fish eyes on the card? Those little circles that appear because there was a particle in the printing press. You don't see them very often with Gretzky rookies, but sometimes you will, and sometimes you'll see them in the blue border area. And let's just take a quick peek and see so this one doesn't have any. This one shouldn't. This is a very strong copy. This one, I mean, right there, you've got a little print issue. There's one. Here's a good example. See this right here?
Yeah.
That's what I refer to as a fisheye. I forget what the technical printing term is, but you see another one here. You see one right here on the border. So, if you kind of just make your way through it, you might see a couple more. It looks like we're pretty much, there's a very slight faint one right there. So look for fisheyes. And that, again, that goes for really all vintage cards as far as I'm concerned. I think that's pretty much consistent across all sports, and really all right back to the 30s and 40s even. So finally, from a surface perspective, look at this one. Look at that fisheye right there on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Like that one's pretty egregious, I would say, but it still such a great card and so many other, and so just from an overall presentation perspective. You also want to look at the card for scratches on the surface. Look at it for scuffs, dimples, pinholes, wrinkles, creases. A wrinkle is usually something that you only see on one side of the card, but not the back if you turn it over, whereas a crease you'll see on both front and back. Look for bends, oftentimes up at the corner. Very easy for somebody to flatten a bend, but there will be a remnant of it. So look for bends, especially near the corners, paper loss, any part of the surface missing. Oftentimes you'll find it on the back, and you might not notice. You might not even notice it. So look for paper loss on the back of the card. Of course, like tears, any remnants of wax from the gum or the wax pack itself. Here's one that's harder to find, guys. Surface impressions. A lot of times people would take a piece of paper. They put it on their desk. There were some sports cards on their desk. They put it down. They take a pen and they'd write on that paper on top of the cards. That would leave a surface impression on the card. You can't see that in a two-dimensional image. You have to hold the card and move it around in the light and try and catch the reflection. That's also how you're going to spot wrinkles and creases a lot of the time. So look for those surface impressions, water spots, any pencil markings. Guys, it's not rare for a kid in the early 80s to have written his initials on the back, or 99 for Wayne Gretzky, or their name, whatever it was. And it can be faint. It can be in a faint pencil. So look for that, then, believe it or not. Look for those things as well. I would recommend when you're examining a card, whether it's in a slab or not, hold the card in your hand, grab a flashlight, and is a flashlight. Don't point the pen at the card like this. The flashlight. Don't point it at the card. Hold it like this. Create a shadow. Force the flashlight to create a shadow on the wrinkles and the creases. If you hold it this way and then you do that, you'll have a better chance of seeing a very subtle wrinkle or crease. And that technique was taught to me by one of the most kind of specific, discerning vintage buyers out there. So I think that's a good tip right there as well, just for examining any vintage card. That's how I would do it. So that's what I say about the surface. I've got other things to say about corners, edges, and centering, but any questions at this point, fellas?
No, I think that's a really great overview of, and what I like about the points that you've made to this point is that these are not like the obvious things, right? And I know you're going to talk about centering, but that's sort of the number one thing that stands out, or corner wear. And that when you're talking about a card of this magnitude, that you have to have that really strong discerning eye and carefully inspect the surface, look at that registration. And it's not about finding the perfect card, right? There's two PSA 10s for Topps and O-Pee-Chee. So you're not going to have a 10. It's more about, I think, just understanding all the imperfections on the card, and do they fit what you want for a card in your collection. Just knowing what you're buying, I guess, is the easier way to say it.
For sure. All right. So when we then talk about the other attributes of a card to look at from a condition perspective, as you alluded to, you've got centering's the easiest. We'll leave that for last. Corners and edges. And really, the key there is unless you're okay with it, don't use your naked eye. Use what's called a loupe, a jeweler's loupe. I've got one right here to show you. This is the kind I use. You can find these for $7 on eBay or Amazon, and they'll ship right to you. And this one even comes with a little light. Now my battery's not working, so I haven't even replaced it in a couple of years. I'm okay without it, but I want to show you quickly how to use a loop, because a lot of people will be like, oh, what do you do? You actually have to hold this thing right up to your eye and basically like come in like this. Now right here, I'm seeing every detail of the corner of that card when I'm holding it like this. I've actually got my finger on the card to keep it from bumping me in the face, because I can't tell how far away it is. And I'm going in until, okay, there we are. Perfect. So do that, and then come down the edge. Come down the edge, come across the bottom edge, the corner, come back up. And that's going to give you an excellent view with with almost the naked eye, but it is magnified, of the card in your hand. Really just a really good thing to do. This is actually a 40x loop. I hear people using 10 and thinking that they're getting a good view. After what I just saw with my 40x, it's not like I'm seeing like each cell or each atom of that this card is made up of. I'm not seeing that level of detail. So if you're using a 10x loop, I just don't think you're getting the same vision that I would like to have myself, especially being used to this one. So for $5 or $8, who cares? Just grab it. You're not seeing too much. I'll tell you that right now. So corners and edges, that's what you want to do. They are what they are. You're going to notice corner wise. I always just simply, if I'm buying a card, a Gretzky rookie, or any for that matter in lower grade, I just want the corners to be uniform. I don't want a card to have 3 perfectly sharp 90-degree angle corners and then one corner is rounded. That I don't want. I don't want the 2 left corners to be slightly rounded and then the 2 right corners to be grossly rounded. I want uniformity. That's just personal preference. I'm not really telling you how to assess condition. I'm just giving you a tip on kind of what to look for, because there's not much more I can tell you other than look through the loop, look for that corner surface wear. Are there wrinkles around the corners? How sharp are they? The blue on the Gretzky rookie, does it come right to the tip of that corner, of that 90-degree angle corner? Or is there some white showing? That'll help you understand how the card would grade if that's something you care about. Let's go talk about the edges, though, for a moment, because the edges are a little bit more complex on the O-Pee-Chee card simply because of the way they were cut at the O-Pee-Chee factory. And, they used blades, and the blades weren't sharpened after every cut. So as time went on, during a shift or a week worth of shifts, the edges would become duller and the cut of the cards would become rougher and rougher. And the hobby has kind of accepted a rough cut O-Pee-Chee Gretzky rookie the rough cut does not necessarily penalize the grade. You can see PSA 9 O-Pee-Chees with extremely rough cuts. We've seen 2 in the last week on the PWCC marketplace auction platform, where these are high grade copies with very rough cuts. And somebody who doesn't know this would say, what in the world were they thinking? How is this not a 4 with an edge like that? Fact of the matter is, the hobby that's just the standard. And whether you agree with it or not, that's the way it is right now. So personally, I like a little bit of a rough cut, but I don't want that. I don't want the rough cut where I see a millimeter of cardstock on the left-hand side. I want nice, uniform, rough cut around the card. I'm okay with that. I like that. It adds character. It's just part of the mystique of the Gretzky O-Pee-Chee rookie. So there's going to be some that are pretty darn sharp. And we still have up on the screen here, this PSA 4. And again, you'll see it's got some rough cut to it. You've got a bit, like right here, look at this roughness. I love it. I love that roughness. I don't like it on any other card, though. Only on the Gretzky rookie do I like it, for whatever it's worth. Here we have it again over here on the right side. But as we go look at what is a PSA 8 copy, look at how nice these edges are. Like, it's still not perfect. They're slightly rough, but not as rough as the other one. Right? Yep. So just sort of be aware of that. I'm going to come back to the 4, backtrack slightly, because I just sort of noticed, if you look right here, you can see the white in between the blue and the black again as from a registration. Sort of backtrack to registration, but I just noticed that as we were zoomed out. So keep that in mind when it comes to edges. PSA won't penalize them. But with a blue bordered card like this, it's easier to see with your naked eye, and especially with a loop, what the corner condition is and what the edge condition is. And then finally, we get to centering. It's the easiest to look at with your eye. It's the easiest to assess with your eye. Gretzky rookies, O-Pee-Chee especially, are centered all over the place. So a well-centered card commands a significant premium. And when I say all over the place, I mean to the point where, like, this top corner here, so I'm highlighting where the word Edmonton Oilers that's in this white banner across the top of the card, and then it comes up on the left side kind of, and then it ends a hard stop. Well, this top corner of that banner, which on this copy is probably about, 4 or 5 centimeters down and maybe 5 or 6 in from the card. I've seen copies where this is right up against the corner, all the way to the top, all the way to the left. You see these cards way off centered all the time. So just look at the centering, side to side centering, very easy to assess because you've got very uniform corners, borders top to bottom. But let me just rephrase that. The side borders are very uniform as you go from the top of the card to the bottom of the card. Assessing the centering vertically, it's a little bit more challenging because of the way the top of the card looks. You got the top of the banner, which has Edmonton Oilers, then you've got his name, then you have nothing. So I always consider, for centering on top to bottom, I look at the width of the bottom border here where my mouse is between. That's very obvious. And then I look at this part here. Where does the top of the banner come compared to the top of the card? So this one might be a little bit high, but still beautiful centering overall. As we look at the 7.5, notice the centering on this one. It's lower and it's to the left. The right border is wider than the left border, and the bottom border is narrower than the top border. So, and this is, by the way, this is a copy I have personally owned since about 1991 or so, and very pleased to continue to own that copy. Here's a PSA 8 near mint to mint copy. I think the centering on this card, I believe, to be bang on. It's one of the nicest cards in this grade I've ever seen. Registration, though, I mean, it's not perfect. Look at the oil drop is low and to the right. You've got that bit of that shade right there, which isn't ideal, but it's still an overall beautiful copy as another example for your viewers that are watching on video. So yeah, that would be that would conclude my assessing the condition of a Gretzky rookie card.
Okay, I do have one clarifying question for you about corners and edges. So in the O-Pee-Chee copy, we're going to expect that rough cut, but in a Topps version, it would be much more in line with what you traditionally want to see in corners and edges, right? So if you have a Topps card that has that rough cut, that is not good.
Yeah, you don't need you don't need a rough edge Gretzky Topps rookie because, and when we look at the populations very shortly, we'll see just how many of these are out there and have been graded by PSA. And this is not a rare card. This is not a scarce card. You can find a couple hundred available any day of the week between the various online marketplaces and even your local card shops and card shows, especially if you're located in Canada. If you're elsewhere, you can find hundreds any day online. So you do not need to settle unless you really want that. You don't need to settle for a rough edge Gretzky Topps rookie. And yeah, I mean, I would hold out for a nicer, especially if you're buying a graded copy and you see, say the 3 is within your range and it's got rough edges, a PSA 3 Topps copy, I would just wait for a nicer PSA 3 copy that doesn't have rough edges, because you will find it. And the centering on them, not always perfect, but way more often than with O-Pee-Chee, is the centering just way, way better.
Gotcha. Any questions for you, Troy, on condition before we move on?
No, I was just thinking of when you go to find and buy your first Gretzky, how we're going to have this video up and watching it and going over it and then looking at the cards you're looking at. Because this is just, I love it. I really appreciate all this information and learning about this because I've been taking notes. And
Let's be honest, I'll have Jeremy Lee on FaceTime. I'm not going to have him.
We'll do it at the expo and you can come bring it up to him and get the expert advice.
There we go. All right. Well, I think we do want to segue now into the population and take a look at, for both the O-Pee-Chee and Topps, and from a PSA perspective, what the total population count is out there and sort of what the disbursement is throughout the various grades.
Yeah, so on the screen right now, the third and fourth row of what we're looking at, as you're highlighting right now, you see the O-Pee-Chee and right underneath at the Topps. And if you go to the far right of these columns under the total, if you add up those three numbers for each card or each version, the Topps and O-Pee-Chee, you'll get the total number of times a Gretzky rookie has been submitted to PSA. This doesn't include BGS or SGC or CSG or any other company. And for the O-Pee-Chee, those numbers total 10,593 submissions. I'm not saying cards, unique cards, but 10,593 submissions for O-Pee-Chee versus 9,443 Topps submissions. Now, this is a little counterintuitive. There are more O-Pee-Chees on the population report than there are Topps, yet the O-Pee-Chee outsells, from a value perspective, same card, same grade, outsells the Topps copy. And that's somewhat interesting, isn't it? Now, if you look more granularly into the grades themselves, you'll notice PSA 10 Gem Mints, 2 of each ever graded, 2 O-Pee-Chees and 2 Topps copies. And we've seen sales of up to 3.75 million for one of those O-Pee-Chees, and I think 1.2 million for one of those Topps, are the 2 most recent sales. We then get to the PSA 9 mint condition card. There's only 91 O-Pee-Chees and 128 Topps, both very low numbers for this card in really the highest grade, because let's face it, $1 million is out of reach for just about all of us. So 91 O-Pee-Chee, 128 Topps. Yet in this case, sorry, not yet, but the O-Pee-Chee does still outsells the Topps, and that makes sense. There's fewer of them, almost over 30% fewer O-Pee-Chee than Topps. So while the overall number of submissions is higher for O-Pee-Chee, which you'd think it should be a cheaper card, when you get into the granular data, it's really only in the lower mid grades where there's more O-Pee-Chees than Topps. And I think that's probably because, O-Pee-Chee was in Canada and there were just way more kids and adults that this was their main card. They kept these, they treasured these a lot. So, and they a lot of people, you treasured it, but you also trashed it at the same time a lot of the times, right? That was a common thing. Your favorite card, but you had no problem putting it in your bike spokes or throwing it against a wall. It was still your Gretzky rookie. But look at the PSA 8s for a moment now. 1,223 Topps copies and 783 O-Pee-Chee. So we're getting further and further away. There's almost a 450 450 fewer O-Pee-Chees in 8 in near mint to mint than Topps. And so the 8 O-Pee-Chee is going to seriously outsell the Topps O-Pee-Chee, and it does. And for everybody who's watching, you can go and kind of examine and compare the rest of the grades. Or if you're listening, just go to the PSA Pop reports online and you can look at these for yourself. Now, I think that I also want to mention that I said before, these numbers only represent the amount of times a Gretzky card has been submitted to PSA. So that does not mean that there has been 10,593 unique O-Pee-Chee and 9,443 unique Topps cards submitted. It means that some of these cards have been submitted over and over again. And I don't know how inaccurate the population reports are, but you need to know, for not just the Gretzky rookie, but for any card that's been graded by PSA, that the population reports are not accurate. They are overstated. They are inflated, pretty much except for the 10s. The 10 number is probably good. No one would break a card out of a 10 slab to regrade it. Why would you do that? But 9s, people want to try for a 10. 8s, people want to try for an 8.5 or a 9. and so on and so forth down the grading scale. So, but we don't, this is the best data we have. It's better than nothing. So use it, but it's not accurate. Simple as that. I just want to mention that about the pop report. Go ahead, please, Josh.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. So, what do you think will, if and when another 10 is ever graded, what do you think that does? Would that be a good thing in your mind? Would that be a bad thing? What happens to the Gretzky rookie market at that point?
It would be newsworthy for sure. As soon as that pops up and someone notices it, it's gonna go viral, like hobby viral, you know. Listen, I personally, I have two thoughts on this. They're in opposition of each other. The first thought is, I do believe there have been Gretzky O-Pee-Chee rookie cards submitted to Topps that are nicer than both 10s. That should be 10s, but for whatever reason, PSA has not given them the 10 grade. I can't tell you why. People can use your own imagination, come up with your own theories on that. But I do believe that to be the case. I believe that if a card is worthy of a grade, regardless of how many are out there, it should get that grade. I think cards should be graded exclusive of any other card ever graded. I don't know. I do not believe in grading on a curve at all. Mm-hmm. I do not believe in that one bit. So that said, I would be disappointed for whatever reason if there was another 10 out there. I think it's cool that there's only 2 of them. So, but what would it do to the market? I would hate to be one of the 2 people that own one of those 2 PSA 10s, because exactly. I do think the value is going to come down. By how much, I don't know. The interesting thing, though, is that, PSA only has 18 grades on their grading scale. I believe the number is 18. There's an infinite amount of conditions that a card can be in, even at the highest grade level. So we talk about the PSA 10s. There's 2 of them right now. If you were to add a third in there and then have all 3, lay them on a table and inspect them, they're not 3 of the same. They're not 3 cards in the exact same condition. They're just not. So I think the hobby is getting really savvy now, where if a third 10 appeared, it would be inspected by many people compared to available images of the other 2 10s. And whichever one is nicest, I think that one would get a premium. And the other 2, if it's the 2 that are currently in the population, I think would be devalued, because this new 10 is the best 10. That's the one everybody wants. So,
yeah. Well, yeah. I share that opinion too. I would be disappointed as well. And I think part of the allure of the Gretzky rookie is the elusiveness of that PSA 10. And I totally agree that it is cool that there's only 2. What about you, Troy? Are you bring them on? The more PSA 10s, the better? Or do you like that there's only 2?
Well, I like that there's only 2, but I agree with Jeremy 100%. If another one popped up, it's obviously, I think it would hurt the value of those other 2, and I wouldn't want to be holding them. But I think I like it that they're just so rare to get that PSA 10. I like that.
It might hurt one of them and help the other.
Yeah, it could be. Like you said, when you lay them out, I love that. I would want to see that too. That'd be great if you could do that. You can just, I don't know if PSA, I didn't look it up, but does PSA have the actual images of the card in a slab on their site? If you know the number.
I don't know if they have it on their site, but
yeah,
they're available. Those images are out there. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'd hate to own the ugliest of the 3 10s.
Well, we've talked a lot about the physical differences between the O-Pee-Chee and the Topps, and the fact that one was distributed in Canada, of course, and one in the US. And then there's the grading population report differences. But I don't think that tells the whole story between the O-Pee-Chee and Topps version of his rookies. And there seems to be in the hobby a clear preference for O-Pee-Chee. And I'm just curious, Jeremy, if you have any thoughts as to why.
Yeah, so I think, and you're right, the hobby prefers the O-Pee-Chee copy. And I think at the highest level, the reason is simply because Topps was distributed in the US, O-Pee-Chee in Canada. The United States is 10 times the population of Canada. And therefore, we the hobby believes, and have for 40 years, that there's more Topps copies out there because it served a larger market. Now, the population reports tell a slightly different story. There's about 10% more O-Pee-Chee submissions. That doesn't mean there's more unique cards submitted, and that might actually be the case, that there's actually still more Topps copies, but the O-Pee-Chees have been resubmitted over 1,000 times more than the Topps copy had been resubmitted. That's a very plausible scenario, actually, when I think about that. So, but I think it's also that Canada drives the demand for this card. Canada has, you go to the Sport Card Expo in Toronto versus the National in Chicago or wherever it is, the Sport Card Expo is going to be 80% hockey, and the National in Chicago is going to be maybe 5%, if you're lucky, percent hockey. So Canada drives that demand. And I think that American collectors just kind of follow along with what they're seeing. That's the way, it's like, that's just the way it is. I think that's a big part of it. As a Canadian, I want the O-Pee-Chee copy. That's what I grew up on. That's what I want. I actually never even considered owning a Topps copy. I had zero desire to own a Topps copy until about 7 or 8 years ago. I forget exactly when I bought a copy, and I just bought it because I thought this doesn't make sense. It's so cheap. It did not make sense. So I bought a copy. I bought a PSA 9 Topps copy, and I'm glad I did, because it's like 8x'd in value since I bought it. Even today, after the, even it was way more during the pandemic, and now it's come down in value. But I think that the Topps copy has a bum rap. I don't think it deserves the little amount of love it gets relative to the O-Pee-Chee. And I just say that because it's a better produced card, looks almost the exact same. If you collect baseball, basketball, football, and hockey, you don't have, you can get O-Pee-Chee baseball cards in the 80s and I believe the 70s too. I understand that. But, if you're a Topps collector growing up, you started with baseball, you probably just want everything Topps. Kind of the way it might go. So I like the Topps copy now, and I own a copy to back that up. And, I bought it because I thought it was a good value, but I've grown to really love the card and on its own merits versus just the O-Pee-Chee. So generally speaking, the hobby prefers the O-Pee-Chee copy. I think for those reasons and maybe it's rarer in better condition, as the population report shows us, especially in the 8s, 9s, and 10s are an outlier. We won't even copy that, but consider that. But even the 7s, 1,942 Topps versus 1,280 O-Pee-Chee. That's over a 50% 50% more O-Pee-Chee 7s than Topps. So I think all those reasons cause it. But, for me, I do prefer the O-Pee-Chee card, but I like the Topps more than I ever have right now. But the advice that, it's very cliche, but just, there's nothing wrong with either of these cards. If you're looking to acquire one, just acquire the one you like, whichever you prefer. You can't go wrong with either. That's the nice thing. You can't go wrong with either.
Well, I think when you showed them side by side, what I learned tonight is that there's specific qualities to appreciate about each. And when I say that, I've really grown to appreciate that O-Pee-Chee rough cut and really kind of value that and admire that and really like that in a Gretzky rookie. But I also like the depth and richness of the color in the Topps.
Yeah.
So those are kind of competing qualities that you don't get in both because they're unique to each one of the specific variations. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the test for you then, Jeremy. I'm going to give you one of two cards, and one's a O-Pee-Chee PSA 7, very appropriately grading, like you would agree this is a good strong 7, or a Topps 8 that's a good strong 8. Which one are you taking?
Well, I would want to see the cards. So if they're let me just set a few conditions here, Josh. If the centering is like really good on both,
yes,
I take the lower graded O-Pee-Chee. But I need to see them because I don't put as much stock in a human grading company's grade as many people do. I trust my own eye more than I trust the eyes of the grader who graded the card that day. So I need to see them side by side, but I would have to answer your question more directly, I would have no hesitation choosing the 7 over the 8 because I value the card more than the holder it's in.
That's awesome. All right. Well, man, we've gone through a lot and we're kind of at the point where we're going to wrap it up in a second. But before we do that, just want to throw it out to you, Jeremy, if there's any sort of miscellaneous points or odds and ends that we didn't cover to this point that you think are important for people to know about.
I mean, if it's too good to be true, you know what they say when you're being presented a card, whether it's graded or not. I mean, there are fake slabs out there too.
Mhm.
So, just don't assume. Know if you've watched or listened to this masterclass, there's a lot of little details that I've learned over the years from other great hobbyists who taught me these things. I got to call out Bobby Burrell, Vintage Hockey Collector. So, this book here, which unfortunately is out of print, but is a great resource for vintage hockey. There's information in here about the Gretzky Rookie. This book here called the O-Pee-Chee Hockey Card Story. Great information in this book for anybody who's looking for more information on the card. I've done episodes on Sports Cards Live. Haven't done one for a couple of years. It's a while ago, but I had Bobby Burrell on with me. I don't know, way back. You'd have to go way back in the archives on Sports Cards Live YouTube channel to find them. But we have covered in depth and talked about the Gretzky Rookie and, what do the print lines mean? That's a big one. Bobby can tell you how these cards were manufactured. He lives near the factory where it's not there anymore, but where the O-Pee-Chee factory was. He can tell you. He spoke to people from the factory to find out what happened at the time. So there's more information out there than just this, but I do think that this masterclass on the Gong Show's platforms is, I feel like we've done a really good job in considering all the different things you want to talk about when you're thinking about a Gretzky Rookie. And, it's one of those cards like I think I almost want to bring it full circle. Like we said at the beginning, that everybody who collects cards knows about it. I believe when PWCC actually recently put out their top 100 most iconic sports cards, and I think the Gretzky Rookie was like 5 or 6 overall, like only behind the Jordan Rookie, the Mantle 52 Topps, the Honus Wagner, maybe 1 or 2 others. It was in the top 10 for sure. So it's a very important card. I've often said that every collector should have one. I retract that comment. Some people don't want it. That's fine. You don't have to have one. But there's enough of them out there that there's probably one for every collector if you want. So, it's a great card. Like you say, Josh, so many nuances with it. And anyone who ever has questions about it, feel free to reach out.
Well, one of the things I think about with our show all the time is that they're going back to your point about nuance. There's so much intricacy and nuance within this hobby and so little information about it's kind of like it's a school of hard knocks, right? Where you have to go through and learn all these lessons the hard way. And if anything that I've ever wanted to do with this little platform that we're building is to help shorten that learning curve for people. And I think, I mentioned when we started, I don't have a Gretzky Rookie, and I'm so grateful I don't, because if I would have tried to buy one a year or two ago, it would have been a disaster. I'm just telling you, because I had no clue what to look for or what I was doing. And so I'm really honored that we can hopefully, help people, make some, whether it's avoid a mistake or really find the best card for their collection. And there's no way we could do it without someone like you, Jeremy. And so super grateful for all the time, preparation, and effort that you put into this and taking time out of your really busy schedule, because ultimately I believe too that for this hobby to grow and reach its potential, that the information can't just be locked away. We have to, all of us, be willing to build that knowledge base. And I hope and I think, and we've all worked hard to make it be this way, but I think that this, masterclass on the Gretzky Rookie can hopefully serve as a small part of that for people moving forward.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that a lot, guys. I'm honored to be here and to be able to be the guest for the Gretzky Rookie Masterclass. I think this is truly evergreen content, and I think it'll be something that'll come in handy for a lot of people down the road. I'm also glad you don't own a Gretzky Rookie yet. A disaster that you could fix by selling it and getting a better copy. But I think for people out there, just remember there's no shortage of these, so wait for the right copy for you. And then I want to thank you guys just for the service you're providing to the hockey card community, the sports card community overall with the Gong Show platform. You guys are doing a great job. And I also want to just thank you personally because the notes that I used for this episode, guys, were 2 years old. So even when I was talking about some of Wayne's, 10 goal or what did I say earlier? Most 40 goal seasons, 50 goal. Ovechkin might have rendered some of that inaccurate by now. So forgive me if I was wrong at the beginning. But the notes that I used were notes that I put together over like 2 years ago when I was planning to do a Gretzky Rookie in like evergreen piece of content like this. And you forced me to do it today. You made me finally use that. And I spent hours building this information up. So I'm just glad that you guys are doing it and I can still use the work I did way back then to help out your audience. So thank you.
Anything you want to say to wrap up, Troy?
No, I just want to thank Jeremy. This is great. I learned so much every time we have you on. We do interview sessions. You've been a great friend of our show. You've helped us. We really appreciate it. And I hope the hobby and our listeners and viewers really appreciate the content that we put in this masterclass. It's a lot of information and it's a lot of good information. So thank you again, Jeremy.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right, Troy, that was nuts. Jeremy did a fantastic job. Just when you think you start to know stuff, you realize how far you have to go and how little you actually know. And the thing that I just keep thinking about with this card is how scary it is because there is so much knowledge that you need to have to make a smart purchase. And like when I referenced the fact that it would have been a disaster had I bought one, I don't think you really caught on to the fact that I probably would have bought a fake one. That's what I meant by I would have been suckered by somebody. So I think it's just still really kind of sitting with me how much research you need to do and to have a resource and a second opinion or a place that you can take a specific card to get that opinion on before you hand over a lot of cash for one.
Yeah, there's a couple things I took away from this is just the passion that he has around this card and all the knowledge he's gained. I can see myself, like I said, when I go to look for a Gretzky rookie card at some point in my collecting journey, I will be watching this episode again and pulling it up or listening to it. And that kind of gets to my second point. If you have access to YouTube and can see our show on YouTube, there's a lot of good video that is on that where Jeremy is showing certain things of the card. He talks about them very well if you're listening to the audio version. But if you do want to see a video version, our YouTube episode of this show has all that, and it's really nice to see that where he zooms in and shows visual cues of what he's talking about.
One of the things too, if I can plug just for a second, the PWCC watch party show we do every Sunday night on Jeremy's Sports Card Live YouTube channel. I think it starts at 8:30 Central Time. There's always Gretzky rookies in the PWCC, and I don't think there's been an episode yet where he doesn't zoom in and go through every pro and con and defect and perfect part of all these cards. And so it's like I feel like I'm getting that education every week by just watching him go through it. And so for that, our PWCC show and all other content Jeremy does, he does content like daily, and we do 2 shows a week and it almost kills us. So I don't know how he does it, but be sure to go and subscribe to Sports Cards Live on YouTube. And then he's also very active on Instagram at jlee_Sports Card Live. So go follow him there if you're not doing so, please. And thank you again, Jeremy, for really an amazing job. All right, we're going to get into a tiny bit of not Wayne Gretzky content here, Troy.
Oh my God.
Which is pretty incredible. We had in hobby news, we're going to start with what I think is really maybe the most significant trade so far, where we have Alex DeBrincat traded from the Ottawa Senators to the Red Wings for forward Dominic Kubalik, a defenseman named, I'm not familiar with them, Donovan Sabrango, a 2024 first round pick, and a 2024 fourth round pick. I think DeBrincat had informed the Senators he would not resign with them.
Yep.
Or wasn't real happy being with there for the long term. So that initiated the trade. It doesn't seem like things really gelled for him in his 1 year in Ottawa. He definitely took a step backwards in production wise, where he went from 41 goals with the Blackhawks in 2021-22 to only 27 last year while playing 82 games for the Senators. So now Troy will be headed to a Red Wings team with playoff aspirations in the upcoming 2023-24 season. DeBrincat is a 2017 young gun. His PSA 10 pop 482. Last sold for $84 on July 9th. It's up 15% in the past month. So some excited Red Wings fans hopping on some of the bandwagon there with the trade, but still down about 58% in the past year. And I know, Troy, that you actually, this is a card that you have. You have a young
I do
gun
have
PSA
one.
10.
Yep.
And I don't know. I'm going to go back to kind of where I started this, where really the only, I guess, big trades that you could say are of potentially any hobby significance are the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade to the Kings. And I think that's it's a little bit of a stretch to call it a hobby significant trade, because Dubois scores maybe 24, 25 goals a year. But DeBrincat, on the other hand, had been a 41 goal scorer.
Yeah.
His career was building momentum. Something happened in Ottawa. And so I don't know. Do you think that the Red Wings are a good landing spot or just a fresh start? And
no, I'm all for the fresh start, and I think Detroit would be a great landing spot because Stevie Yzerman's there right now, and we talked about him last show on how he's really good at developing talent and have an eye for this stuff. DeBrincat obviously is a goal scorer. I think he led did he lead the NHL in the shortened pandemic season in scoring or goals?
He might have.
I mean, he can score, so I think behooves him to have a change of scenery, and I am excited to see what he does. Now, I'm glad I'm not into this card like $900, or not 900. Was it $800 on my Kaprizov? I didn't pay what did I try to think what I paid for this.
I think it was like 2 something or 1 something.
I think it was 175, maybe somewhere in there. I mean, I was still down a bunch, but yeah, I'm glad that he is getting a change of scenery. We'll see what he can do. I wish he was actually with Chicago right now, having Bedard, and even though Chicago's gonna be terrible, I think it would be fun to see him out there with Bedard.
And then the only other note that we have in hobby news in today's show is I was doing some homework on the National, which is coming up at the end of this month, Troy, in Rosemont, Illinois. It's, of course, July 26th through 30th at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. Don't forget the E, the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. We've never been there, so I don't know exactly what to expect. I'm trying to keep my expectations low, though, because I feel like compared to the expo as a hockey hobby junkie, it's going to be a little bit disappointing in that regard, but we are looking forward to just meeting a whole bunch of people, and that'll make it worth it for sure. I did look through the list, though, Troy, of athletes that will be signing, and I only found one hockey player. It's a good one.
Big one. It's a big one.
Jaromir Jagr. Expensive, though. It's like $170. And I wanted to go back if I had time, and I just didn't try to find the expo autograph. I don't think they were nearly
there was not. They were not that much. Maybe one of the bigger people were, but I don't remember anything being like that. But I have this sitting out. I know you can't see it. Oh, I should get my high voltage. The one I just picked up. I shoot that autograph.
Would that be that's kind of one of those chrome finishes, though? Would an autograph work on that?
Oh yeah, it probably wouldn't. I'd have to probably spray it with some kind of special stuff or get some special pen. Probably not. Never mind.
Yeah.
I will keep that like it is.
Like I said, one hockey player, Jagr, and about every football, basketball, or baseball player that's ever lived. It doesn't give you much hope for a hockey presence at the show, but like I said, so excited to go meet people.
What did we heard? We heard like the Toronto Sports Expo. It's probably 80%, 85% hockey, And the National, what, 5 to 10% is what we kinda heard?
Maybe 5 is what
Maybe
I've heard.
5%.
So
Yeah.
if you're going to be there and you want to meet us, the best thing to do would be message us on Instagram, probably. Well, message me. Troy's bailing out because it's like his kid's birthday. Apparently, is more important than hockey cards, but I just don't
Yeah,
understand.
it's a milestone
And
birthday. I gotta go.
yeah, got to do it. Got to do it. But message us on Instagram and we'll try to connect when we're there. All right. Well, we just spent about 4 minutes not talking about Wayne Gretzky, Troy. So taking a little bit, we got to get back to it.
All right, let's get back to it.
And I thought, well, we can't talk about Wayne and hockey cards without going through the biggest and most valuable Gretzky cards there is. And so we're going to look at the top 5 highest selling Gretzky cards ever. Now, these are public sales, and I'm sure there's been huge private sales of cards
Yeah.
that maybe few people know about or we can't verify because, well, they're private.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, how do we do this? Do we start with 1 and go to 5, or 5 and build suspense to 1? But there is no suspense. We already know what the
Yep.
biggest selling Gretzky card is. So we'll just start with 1. And I think as you go down the list, it actually gets a little bit more interesting. So here we go. Okay, at 1. The other thing too is for the rookies, O-Pee-Chee and Topps, I'm going to do 1A and 1B.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't take up 40% of our list with the most obvious cards.
Josh, because we are so new to YouTube and my fun little screens, I forgot to put up that one when we talked about Mr. DeBrincat. Look at that. There he is. There's his young guns.
There's Alex.
Anyways, back to Gretzky.
Yeah. Okay. 1A, 1979, O-Pee-Chee Wayne Gretzky, PSA 10. Troy, last sold in March of 2021 for only $3.75 million US dollars. It had sold before that in December of 2020 for $1.29 million. Wow. So that's a big jump from 1.29 million to 3.75. And then before the 1.29 million sale, it had sold in August of 2016 for $465,000. So it's almost 10x since 8x or whatever since August 2016. Some big jumps. Now here's my question for you on this one. So the last sale, 3.75 million, was in the smack of sort of the pandemic sports card boom. Given that fact, if this card went for auction today, do you think it sells for more or for less?
Less because of kind of a couple things. One, I think the pandemic pricing probably bumped it up a little, but also because now there's 3 of them. And I think that would maybe push the price down a little bit. So I just think it would go for less.
There's not 3, there's still 2.
I'm sorry. I thought you said if another one was pulled because I saw. No.
I meant this card. This card.
I got you. I'm an idiot.
So I'm just kind of wondering if how much the pandemic factored into that 3.75 million.
I do think it factored in. I would say it sells for less, but I don't think it sells for a lot less. I would maybe 3.5 million, somewhere in there.
Okay. 1B then, of course, would be the 1979 Topps PSA 10 that sold last August for a cool 1.2 million US. So all the differences we talked about with Jeremy Lee, quite a big difference though, from 3.75 million for the O-Pee-Chee to 1.2 million for the Topps. So that gives you some sort of indication just how much the hobby prefers the O-Pee-Chee.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gets rid of the rookies, which are awesome and amazing, but kind of what everyone knows.
Yeah.
The number 2 then, because we had 1A and 1B, is the 2004 Ultimate Collection Wayne Gretzky Shield Patch Auto 101 BGS 8.5 that sold for $145,000 US in May of 2022. Pretty awesome card. It's not an Oilers card. It's in his Kings jersey, but a very, very nice design card. The biggest thing that hit me though here is what a huge drop in price from his rookie cards.
Yeah, that's a huge drop. Plus, I mean, what do you? I don't know. I mean, that's just an indication, speaks to the hockey hobby and what we have to go through. But yeah, that's crazy how much further down it is than those other 2 rookie cards.
Okay, number 3 is the 2006 Ultimate Collection Shield Auto, another Shield Auto 101 BGS 8 that sold for $114,000 US in September of 2022. I don't know about you, Troy, but I much like the 2004 one we just looked at, just from a look and feel of the card to the 2006 version of the Shield 101.
Yeah, I
I'll
do
take
like
either
the
of them. I'm not going to
yeah,
turn one down, but
I do like the patch on the '06 one. It's a little cleaner, but I love the old NHL Shield, and you notice if you ever look at it, the NHL is trending downwards, and I believe one of the reasons the new logo, the NHL moves up, and I think part of the reason was they wanted it to seem like they were rising, right? The league is
yeah.
rising, and that's part of the reason. Yeah, it's not a good idea to have like your logo pointing downwards because it means falling. It's just those marketing people are weird.
Yeah. They got to justify their paychecks. So that's part of how they do it. Okay, number 4 is a pretty awesome card. It's a 2006 The Cup dual NHL auto shields with Gretzky and Lemieux. We're just showing the Gretzky side.
Yep.
Mario would be on the back, or Claude Lemieux. Can't remember which one. Just kidding. Mario.
God, that would be awesome. Boy, you talk about another player bringing down the value of a card. I've always thought we
Yeah.
should do that at some point. It's look at those cards that have one a Hall of Famer and then the other player, and how much that affects it. Like the Nail Yakupovs with Gretzky cards, if there are any. I don't know if there are. There probably is.
The Bedard and Ryan Suter dual shield.
Oh,
Just marshmallow thrower. Okay. It's a 101. Of course, it's slab BGS authentic. Sold for 93,480 in October 2021. I feel like this one would sell for more. Although these are kind
mm,
of weird though, where they're tough to display because you're showing Wayne or Mario, but one of them's on the back.
yeah. You have to get a spinning stand. I'm telling you, you'd have to get a spinning stand on your desk and have it spin around so you you remember there's someone else on the back of it.
And then rounding out our top 5 is the 2012-13 Fleer Retro Green PMG 10 PSA 7 that sold for 62,400 US in October 2022. I think these have come down some. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine today this would get. It is a cool card though, and
Yep. Very
he
cool.
does look very cool on the green background of the card. Out of 10, it's a PMG. I think actually Jeremy has one of these cards. So maybe we'll have to steal it from him sometime. All right, Troy. So, yeah, any thoughts on my quote unquote modified top 5 list with 1A, 1B being his rookies? Anything surprise you?
That
Or
doesn't
pretty
surprise
much
me. I
what
think
you'd expect?
out of much what I expect. I mean, obviously, I know the rookies are the big ones, and any Shield card we know goes for huge amounts of money, and it's Gretzky, so that makes sense. I guess I don't know. It shouldn't be a surprise that a PMG was number 5, but I do think
Yeah.
that's a lot of money. And again, I think the PMG market has cooled. And I've stated I've never been a PMG guy. I don't get it. I don't get it, but it's cool to see. It's a really cool card. I'll say that much.
But again, though, it also highlights the range, right? Where
Yeah.
the number 1 card is 3.75 million and the number 5 is 62,000.
Yeah.
So it's a huge drop off after those top 1A and 1B. Also, another thing I realized while doing this is, and this doesn't just apply to Gretzky, but it does include him definitely as well. So far in 2023, we're about almost 7 months into the year. There hasn't been a huge card that's really gone up for auction.
Hmm.
Like none of
People
the
are.
type of cards on this list have sold in this past year. So everyone's hoarding their Gretzky's.
Yep. I was about to say
like
they're hoarding it
right now.
and waiting for the market maybe to go back up a little bit.
All right. In addition to the top 5 selling cards, we thought we'd take a look at just the overall Gretzky market in the past 12 months. We've done a deep dive in the rookie too, talk about some of our favorite cards. So just thought it was appropriate to see what's going on with the overall Gretzky collecting perspective. Used for this card ladder player index. And for Wayne Gretzky, they have 56 of his cards from his playing career. So a lot of those cards would be not 56 unique cards. So it'd be like a PSA 8 of a 1980
Mhm.
O-Pee-Chee and a PSA 9 and a PSA 7, that sort of thing. Using that index, his values are down about 13% in the past year, but in the past month, up about 2%. So a slight tick upwards recently. I think him being down in the last year is primarily driven on high end stuff that we're seeing just in the general.
Mhm.
he has not been immune to that at all. No player really has. In those 56 cards, I kind of went through card by card, and 31 of his 56 graded and raw copies in that Gretzky Player Index and Card Ladder are down in the past year. 8 are flat, and 17 are up in value. The biggest drop is a 1998 SP Authentic Sign of the Times, which is down 77%. It last sold on the 2nd of July for $830. The prior
Wow.
sale to that was almost a year ago in August 2022, Troy, for $3,720. So big drop on this. This is a really cool card, actually.
Yeah, it's a great
Like
card. I love it. Yeah.
I think somehow, I don't know if this was like an auction that ended at a weird time or sold on a platform with not a lot of people, but I would have bought that card for $830. So missed it.
Yeah.
Biggest gainer in the past year is a 1981 Topps Wayne Gretzky PSA 10, pop 74, up 67%. Last sold for $2,010 on July 9th. Record sale, by the way. Last sold a year ago, or was selling a year ago for about
Wow.
1,205. So big jump in the past year on this card. And then looking at his rookie graded copies, Card Ladder has 13 O-Pee-Chee different grades in its index from all the grading companies, and only 2 are up in the past year. 3 are flat and 8 are down. Now, in his Topps rookie, there's 15 different graded copies in the Gretzky Player Index and Card Ladder between, of course, again, PSA, BGS, SGC, and 6 of the 15 are up. 1 is flat and 8 are down. So the Topps on a percentage growth has fared a little bit better than O-Pee-Chee in the past year. Biggest sale in the past 12 months was one of the 2 Topps Gretzky rookies that sold for $1.2 million, as we mentioned, in August 28th of 2022. Now, the biggest Gretzky related wax sale in the past 12 months, this past January 11th, Troy, a 1979-80 O-Pee-Chee sealed wax box, BBCE certified, which has 48 unopened packs, sold for $198,000 in the US. So that's only $4,125 a pack, Troy. It makes me think too about what Jeremy said in our Gretzky Rookie Masterclass about how many of his rookies were pretty much messed up, coming right outside of the pack, and this would not be a box to open. I would think that you would get murdered very, very bad. Yeah. All right. We're going to end the show this week with our PWCC hockey preview. PWCC is a Gongshow partner and sponsor, and we're grateful for their support of our show. A reminder that the July Premier Auction starts today. So you want to head over to pwccmarketplace.com and see what hockey cards are included in this month's premiere. The current PWCC Weekly Auction is live, and as we do each Thursday, Troy and I in a minute will highlight our favorite hockey cards in this week's auction. Another plug, though, a quick reminder that Jeremy Lee, do our weekly PWCC auction and watch party every Sunday night on Jeremy's YouTube channel, Sports Card Live. The show starts at 8:30 Central. Cover all the best hockey cards closing in the auction, plus answer questions and respond to feedback with all the viewers in the chat. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't yet, please check it out. Okay, Troy, let's dig into our favorites from this past week. Like we always do, we will start with our favorite vintage. And this first one I think is going to surprise people, but it's a card I love. It's the 1990 Pro Set Wayne Gretzky number 118 PSA 10, pop only 72. Does that surprise you, Troy? You're on mute, Troy.
Oops. Yes, it does surprise me because we think of 90s, we think junk, we think there's tons of them out there. But yeah, that's pretty surprising.
Yeah, you'd assume there's like 40,000, but well, there might be.
There might be.
Only 223 have been submitted for grading. And of course, we can debate if 1990 is vintage, but hey, it's from my youth, and I feel old, so I'm going to call that vintage today. And if I'm being truthful here, there's another reason I picked this card. I picked it for our guy Phil, who's better known as Loud Collector. He makes very funny YouTube videos that you need to go check out and subscribe to him at Loud Collector. Follow him on Instagram too. Well, Phil's got this idea in his head that he wants to pull one of the fabled and sought after 1990 Pro Set Stanley Cup hologram cards, I believe out of 5,000. And one of the biggest chases, because right, everyone assumes that they produce just a million of these boxes. I believe they're in series 1 of 1991 Pro Set. And while Phil keeps coming up deuces, he's done video after video. He does Instagram lives, and I've sat and watched him open pack after pack. And as he was doing it the other day, I actually asked him, well, how many Gretzky's do you think you have? And he thinks he has between 200 and 300 just from opening these boxes, searching for the hologram, which is crazy. Okay, so Phil, we're previewing this card today in honor of you and your quest to pull a Stanley Cup hologram card from 1990 Pro Set. I'll admit too, though, that like I said earlier, this card hits me in all the right nostalgia sweet spot as well. There's this little gas station by the house that I grew up in, only a few blocks away, and I remember walking or riding my bike over and buying these packs out of the retail box that they would have in there, and they were a little bit see-through, so you could try to look at the top and bottom card in the pack. I still have a ton of these cards in like a 5,000 card count box. They're all just terrible condition at my parents' house back at home. It's a base card from the set. It's one of 5 Gretzky's in the 1990 set. Of course, Wayne is on the Kings at this point, so it's a silver and black card, as you can see. I actually think, even though it's like in the epitome of the junk wax era, it's actually a really nicely designed card. It's very well balanced, and it doesn't look bad by any stretch. So if you're a Gretzky guy collecting the Gretzky player run, or maybe 1990 was in your wonder years, and this card kind of hits you with the nostalgic feels like it does me, it's not going to cost you that much to pick up. Last sale on a 1990 Pro Set Wayne Gretzky PSA 10 Pop 72 was $57 US on July 8th, all-time high $200 US at March of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is only Pop 72.
It is.
I mean, Phil could probably single-handedly quadruple the pop count, but yeah, who knows? Current bid, Troy, is what?
$13 US.
Big money.
Big money.
All right, you got the next one.
I do. So I just have figured I'm going to go back to Parkhurst again. So I did a 1951 Parkhurst Red Kelly Rookie, number 55, PSA 7. And this one also has the PWCC A rating, or the eye appeal rating, in the top 30%. So again, I love Parkhurst. I love these cards. And then I like finding players that I don't know anything about or very little about. And Red Kelly is definitely a player I've heard about. I knew he was a good player, important player to the game, but I didn't know that much about him. So it was like right down my alley to do this one. And it made sense that I look at this one for my vintage pick. We will learn about Red Kelly in a bit, but I want to look at the card first. If you are on the YouTube, we've got the picture of the card up, but if you look at it, the corners are great. There's some very minor rounding, which you'd expect. Again, every time we talk about these cards, these 51 Parkhurst, they're going to have some rounding. It's just to be expected, but the card looks really great for a 51 Parkhurst. The centering and the edges look really, really nice, especially if you're on the PWCC site and you zoom in on their high-res image. It looks absolutely fantastic. You can see a little bit some minor imperfections on the surface. You can see some spotting here and there, but it's nothing huge. It doesn't affect it. There's maybe a tiny little black circle on one of the black borders, and that's about really it that I could find on the front. It just looks like a great card that shows its age. I absolutely love it. After seeing the card, I wanted to know a little about Red Kelly. And Leonard Patrick Red Kelly was mainly a defenseman, but did occasionally play center on a couple occasions. 8-time Stanley Cup winner, 4-time Lady Byng winner, 1-time Norris winner. He was named to the NHL's 100 greatest players to play list. His career stats were 281 goals, 542 assists for 823 points in 1,316 games played. And I could have did a whole show on him, but I found a couple of fun facts. Was a Liberal member of Parliament for the Toronto area I don't even know what this means. Toronto area riding of York West from 1962 to 65, during which time he also won the Stanley Cup twice while actively playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Could you imagine an NHL player today being a member of Congress or a member of Parliament? That would be nuts. And then playing NHL hockey, I feel like we're in a society
That'd
right
be
now
crazy.
where everyone would just yell at him the whole time. Red Kelly played on more Stanley Cup winning teams, 8, than any other player who never played for the Montreal Canadiens. I love that. So basically all the players that didn't play on the Canadiens, he has the most cups. All right, this card, yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Current bid for this card, $300 US. All
right, the next card is a 1954 Alex Delvecchio, number 36, PSA 8, pop 27, 3 graded higher. There's no PSA 10s. It's not his rookie card, which was in the 1951 Parker set with Red Kelly, like Troy just went through. There's also another Delvecchio card in the 54 Parker set, which is number 90, just for your knowledge, in case you're comping that this one is number 36. I picked this card because, well, not only because Delvecchio is a great player, I just think it's a super cool card. It's a horizontal card where it looks like he might have been tripped up by a Maple Leafs player and is falling forward and basically using his glove and stick to break the fall and retain his balance. You can only see the back of the player from the look. It has to be the Toronto Maple Leafs who may have tripped him in the this card. I think it was a painting, not an image, but that player's wearing number 21. So I looked up, well, who is number 21 for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 1953-54 season? It would have been Bob Solinger, who played left wing for Toronto that year. So fun fact about this card. Card's a little off center from right to left and top to bottom, but not terrible. The cardboard is, maybe you can help me with this too, Troy. I was trying to describe the cardboard like a light brown around the border and edges. And
that's like an 18,
you can find
right?
copies of the 19. Yeah. Like there's still some very white copies in that 1954 set, but actually I kind of prefer the more that age look, where the cardboard stock on this card looks a lot more like a 51 Parker's, similar light brown color. Quick background on Delvecchio, if you're not familiar with his career. He spent his entire playing career with the Red Wings, as so often with other legends that have played for that team. His career lasted 24 seasons with the Rings from 1951 through 1973. He was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1977. Delvecchio was a forward who scored 456 goals, added 825 assists in 1,550 games played. He won 3 Stanley Cups with the Red Wings, Troy, in 1952, 1954, and 1955, and served as the Red Wings captain for 12 seasons, was the longest serving Wings captain until our guy Stevie Yzerman. His number 10 was retired by Detroit in 1991. Immediately after retiring in 1973, he was named the coach of the Red Wings and coached through the 1976-77 season. So the last sale on a 1954 Parkhurst Alex Delvecchio PSA 8 was $220 US in October 2022. All-time high is $333, which was set in January of 2022. What's the current bid?
Current bid is $230, and then I'm a bonehead and forgot to put what the recent comp on my Red Kelly PSA 7 was. So I kind of looked it up real quick while you're talking, and it looks like $1,770 US was the last one I could find.
There we go.
For a PSA 7. So sorry, I forgot to put that in my section originally.
So we had a 1990 Pro set, Wayne Gretzky, which is kind of funny in the context of the other two vintage cards, and a 1951 Parkhurst Red Kelly, and then the 54 Alex Delvecchio. All right, we're going to switch to modern. And so I'm going to stick with the Gretzky theme here and start with a 2019 Upper Deck Buybacks 2004 Hall of Fame Showcase Wayne Gretzky auto out of 10 raw, which is NBA authenticated. Two things that stood out to me immediately are it's got a gold or coppery color autograph, which I think is awesome. And I love hand numbered cards. I just love them. I get really excited when a card is hand numbered, and this one's numbered 10 out of 10. The card was originally from the 2004-5 Legends Classic set, which I was not familiar with at all. It's a side profile of Wayne, like maybe like he's sitting on the bench or something like that, watching the play. Sort of looks like he's in the Oilers sweater. So I would guess that based on how old he looks, that it's probably like a mid '80s photo or something like that. He's got also too, Troy. I don't know if you noticed, there's a little cut on his lower lip. You think he
Oh, he
was scrapping
does.
a bit here?
He
Oh,
does. Or they're chapped. Really
or
bad chapped
he's
lips.
all herpes or something like that. Poor Wayne. But I'll choose to think that he was maybe scrapping it up a little bit. There's some parallels of this card too in the original set that were numbered, but for the buybacks and the hand numbering, obviously they used a base card. One thing about this card though that is really confusing, if you look at the back of it, it has like buybacks printed on it. So
Oh.
how does that happen?
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't think they did that. Maybe, huh? Because it looks like where they put buybacks, it looks like the card was printed like that. Like there's a specific spot.
Yeah, and
to
it
put
says
buybacks.
2019, 2020 on it. So
Oh
this
yeah,
this kind of confused me
I'm
because I
confused.
thought the
Maybe
whole
they
point
just,
of a
yeah. Okay.
maybe it was a card produced that year but added to the buyback set that was
Yeah.
more of a tribute, or I don't know. But somebody can message us that understands how that worked, because I was all tied up in knots for like 25 minutes trying to figure that
Mm-hmm.
out. Anyways, it's a real cool card. Very limited, of course, with 10 copies. Could not find any previous sales for this on Card Ladder sales history or on TerraPeak. And I always think it's fun, Troy, when we talk about cards that have never sold before,
Mm-hmm.
and just to be able to observe and see what that first public sales price is going to be. But I don't know. Are you a fan of this card? Do you like it?
I do. I love the look of it. I actually like this little border thing. It kind of, I don't know why it reminded me of Stature, the corner borders. And I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
just how the
It's kind of
design is
ornate.
kind of, yeah, it's ornate, and that's kind of how Stature is. So yeah, I do like this card. I like the image. I like images that I don't think I've seen of Gretzky before.
Mhm.
And it's really hard because I've talked about this on the show before, or maybe with Irish Flyer Collector when we were talking about Pelle Lindbergh. And it's like Pelle Lindbergh has, I don't know, there's maybe 15 images that they just recycle over and over and over
Yeah.
again if they ever put them on a card. So I love seeing different images of Gretzky that I haven't seen before.
You got the current bid.
$350.
Okay, Troy, what's your modern pick?
All right. I stayed on the Wayne Gretzky train, and I'm going to nickname it the Wayne train. Do you like that? Is the Wayne train a new thing?
Yeah, I love it. I now where are you on the Wayne train? Do you hang out in the caboose? Do you hang out I'm in the bar car, but
I'm in trying to get the autographs wherever that part of the train is. I'm trying to get Wayne Gretzky autographs, but I don't have one. But no, I did. I stayed on the Wayne train. I did the 1999 Upper Deck Ovation Super Signatures. Wayne Gretzky auto out of 50. It is raw with the NBA authentication. Before I get into this card, just let everyone know we've got emails today that Ovation is being released again by Upper Deck, and it's going to be an EPAC exclusive. I can't remember the years. Do you remember the years? Is it 21, 22,
I think so.
2021, something like that? We'll talk about it on next show, but it was just kind of coincidence that I talked about, I'm going to talk about an Ovation card. And then lo and behold, Upper Deck sends us a press release that Ovation is coming to EPAC. So look forward to that on Monday's show. All right. So it's a Super Signatures card, and these Super Signatures cards actually have 3 versions of it when you look at the checklist. There's an out of 99 version, an out of 50 version, which is what this card is, and the out of 50 has like the gold on it at the top here, where it's like Gretzky, New York Rangers. It's kind of goldish, and I think his image is also a little gold, if I remember right. Then there's also a 25 out of 25 version that's a rainbow foil, and it has that look to it. And all 3 versions have the hand numbering that Josh really likes. I like it too. I do like hand numbering, and this card has it. I think what's really interesting about this is the only other player in this set, the 1999 Upper Deck, the Ovation Super Signature subset, is Gordie Howe. It's only Gretzky and Howe.
Wow.
And it's pretty cool. They each have 3 cards, you know, the out of 99, the out of 50, and the out of 25. You have Gretzky's and then you have Howe's. But then there's an out of 9 that's a dual card with Gretzky and Howe. And I tried to find an image, couldn't find it. I don't know if people they've got those and squirreled them away in their collection, but I couldn't find any image of them or anything, or sales of that dual one, because I thought that'd be a pretty cool card. Plus, I really like how this card looks, so I would love to see what that card looked like. So this card itself, it looks great. There's a large portrait of Gretzky's head, his face on the left-hand side. He's kind of looking up. I don't know, it looks like before game. Maybe it's like a national anthem or something. Then the next to him is a picture of Gretzky taking a shot. It's an action photo. He is in a Rangers jersey. This is a Rangers card. Has the Rangers logo, so just to let everyone know that. It does have a lot going on, but I think they actually did a pretty good job making it work. There's a large prominent area for the auto. There's the logo. There's Wayne Gretzky's name, 99, some years on it, the 20 years, 79 to 99. It's really busy, but I think they did a really good job of putting a lot of information on there. And I really like how the card looks. Now, the card itself, there's some very minor corner wear. You can kind of see it if you look at the image, a little whitening around the corner. There's tiny specks on the card, but I'm not sure if those are surface issues or dust or lint that got picked up in the scan. Nothing on this card, though, that would make me not buy it. I think it looks great. I think the color looks fantastic, especially like the picture of Wayne in the Rangers jersey taking a shot. It looks really, really nice. I could not find any recent sales of the out of 50 version of this card. I did find an out of 99 sale on August 25th of 2022 for $560 US, and a out of 25 version sold on May 21st, 2022 for $1,250 US. And both of these were on eBay, verified through Terapeak. Current bid on this card is $170 US.
Yeah, cool card. I like it.
I think it looks really nice.
Okay, the last card we're going to feature. Yeah, I'm sort of sticking on the Wayne train here, and I'm choosing a guy who probably just maybe will break
shots fired
Wayne's all-time. Yeah. No disrespect, man. We're going with an Ovechkin 2005 Parkhurst number 669 BGS 10 pristine pop 18 out of 361 submitted. Put this in the Young Guns alternative class for O-Pee rookies. Can I also say for a minute that the BGS pop report functionality stinks? Have you noticed this when trying to look up cards on BGS, like pop report versus PSA? You have to input the fields exactly as they're listed in their database. Like, you would know the term better than me, but they're so. For instance, if you search 2005 Parkhurst, doesn't return anything. You have to do 05-06 Parkhurst in that exact format in order to find the card.
You know what? You say that.
It's not consistent either. It's super frustrating.
Yeah, you say that. I think that's why I just went to doing player searches on BGS.
Gotcha. Okay, as much as I like shiny cards, I've always kind of also had an affinity for paper ones too. Maybe that's why I like O-Pee-Chee paper so much. This card would, I think, classify as a pretty cheap or low-end O-Pee rookie, but when you add in the BGS 10 factor with that pristine grade designation, it does make it interesting. The card itself is pretty cool. The background is sort of a retro look to it. It's, I think, really nicely laid out. And if you're looking for an O-Pee rookie to pick up but don't want to spend $4,000 or $5,000 US to get a Young Gun PSA 10 that has a pop of well over 1,000, by the way, to invest in as he chases the goals record, I think this could be an interesting option. Again, to me, the biggest pluses are the panache that comes with the BGS 10 label, and then the low pop count at 18, of course. Last sale on this 2005 Parkhurst Alexander Ovechkin BGS 10 pristine pop 18 was $1,230 US in February of 2022. It was also the all-time high. You got the current bid, Troy?
$220 US.
All right, so for our modern cards, it was the 2005 Parkhurst Ovechkin rookie BGS 10, the 1999 Upper Deck Ovation Super Signatures Wayne Gretzky auto, and the 2019 Upper Deck Buybacks 04 Hall of Fame Showcase Wayne Gretzky auto out of 10. And that one was raw. To see all the hockey cards in this week's PWCC Weekly Auction, be sure to head to pwccmarketplace.com. The auction ends on Sunday night. All right, well, that's our episode 99, our special Wayne Gretzky episode. We had a lot of fun putting it together, and hopefully we did Wayne right in paying tribute to him this episode. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, want to support us, and want to chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month out of 99 support level tier on Patreon. The link is in the show description within our Instagram profile, or you can search Hockey Cards Gongshow on the Patreon website at patreon.com, or go to hockeycardsgongshow.com and click on the Become a Patron link. If you're not following us on social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll chat with you all on Monday for Gong Show 100.